Oh, yes. What's happening, everybody? That's right. This is it. The AMG Cup. Oh, what do you mean the AMG Cup? I mean the Mega Draft Edition. That's right. This is the place for Mega Draft. This has been the place for Mega Draft. We have had so much fun with this the entire time, and now we get to do it big with Mega Draft. I'm so pumped. Hey, I'm Rich Slayton. What do? I cast for this thing called Clash Royale League for many, many years. And what do I do now? Mostly just Mega Draft, which is why I'm so pumped to get to bring you this phenomenal competition. 15,000 euros or dollars, 15,000 of a significant currency with, wow, a phenomenal lineup coming your way. The best game mode right now in Clash Royale. No questions asked. And of course, if you've been watching on this channel, you know I've been hosting regular weekend brackets with 4 pro players battling it out to get a little bit of money and of course kind of set the stage for this new phase or this new element of competitive play, the Mega Draft mode. And of course, the guy who's taken more of my money than any specific other person in Clash Royale, who won one of those brackets, went a couple times pretty deep into the tournament overall. On the line right now, it's your boy, Mini. Mini, what's happening, brother?
I'm just ready to bring you guys a competition that I myself am really, really excited for. We obviously got your great casting, like you said, best caster in CRL for I don't even know how many years. And then, you know, who better to, like, consult on anything, like, deck-related, pick-related than, like, the best player in the history of the game. At least that's what I tell myself.
You know what?
Yeah.
You've definitely done some pretty cool stuff, including taking a lot of my money over the years. And you've played against a lot of these players. You've played a ton of Mega Draft as well, so really excited to have your insight. And we'll talk a bit more about the game mode here in just a minute. Oh, actually, they have a great animation for it. So if you haven't played Mega Draft yet, they show this really great collection of all the cards. You and your opponent go back and forth making picks to build your deck from 36 cards from this limited version of the meta, kind of a mini meta that we have to go with. And then we're going to play BO3s today. We did some BO3s and BO5s, even a BO7 between Mohamed Light and Morton on my channel recently. But this is really, really fun. It's competitive, it's hard, and my opinion, Mini, is this is the most, for lack of a better word, balanced or fair game mode because it really takes out a lot of the randomness of matchup.
It really is. It really puts the player in a position that tests their knowledge in terms of decks and matchups, and as well as just finding a strategy to win. So I really, really like it. I mean, in your brackets that you ran, I had so much fun, and it's really great, you know, to beat everyone besides Mohamed, like that guy that wins everything every time.
Yeah, that guy who wins a lot, and what he's looking to win this time, $7,500, the top end of our prize pool. We'll see if anyone out here can stop him. And looking at that bracket, his first matchup is going to be up against Adrian Piedra, the Aztec Eagle, as he was called back in the team's days. We'll see if Adrian can recapture glory here in this single elimination bracket, folks, over today and tomorrow. Then you have Vitor going up against Wallace, former teammates, longtime friends. Lucas and Airsurfer battling out on that round 1, and then Pompeyo and Sandbox. Other side, former world champion from 2019, Ruben, up against the Pride of Japan in KK. Another world champion in Surgical Goblin up against our only qualifier player in Suze. Then Anaban, the sniper, against Ian, and I actually did not see the last part of that bracket. So, did you see what the last matchup was?
We got JP versus Samuel Bassotto, another great matchup as well.
Let's go. It's going to be a whole lot of fun here today, and we're here today and tomorrow. So this is going to be a 2-day event with, again, probably the coolest game mode in all of Clash Royale. You know, and some interesting notes here for you guys, special rules that we kind of figured out by doing this tournament on my channel over these weeks. Number 1, the loser, the first person to pick, because first pick gets the first pick and the last pick, which is a bit of an advantage. So our first pick will be decided in Game 1 by a random draw between the 2 players. Then after that, the loser of each game gets first pick in the next game. So if you lose Game 1, you get first pick in Game 2, and vice versa for Game number 3. That's one of our 2 rules. The other big rule here is Pump is the only card banned from competition, and that's because Pump can show up in your starting hand due to the way it was added into this mode. So because Pump cannot show up in your starting hand regularly, and it can in this mode, we've opted to ban Pump from competition for this particular event. Which I think is probably the smartest move here, Mini, because as we've seen, Pump can be a bit of a problem when we get into this gameplay.
I mean, we do see, like you mentioned, I don't really quite understand why you're able to have it in your starting hand, and since you are picking decks based on cards that are given to you, 90% of the time, like Rich has said, it's in your control. But let's say that your opponent takes Pump and there's just like no other appropriate response to get it, then that can skew the matchmaking or the matchup and game overall as well. So good call on them.
Here we go. Yeah, there you go. First pick in round one. And I love that they have this little wheel here for this as well. First pick round one is going to be Mohamed Light. So we'll be go ahead and jumping into that action in just a moment here. Let's see. Pigo saying, isn't Pump first play a pretty bad play? Absolutely not. In fact, that's why Pump in the normal game cannot show in your starting hand, is because Pump first play can actually be a completely broken play if your opponent doesn't have their Pump counter in hand. So in the normal game, when you play Clash Royale, you can't play Pump first. And so because of that, we're going to honor that same sort of situation here for this one as well. So there we go. Getting into our first bit of drafting here, and let's take a look at this board, Mini.
Off the bat, in terms of win conditions, I see Graveyard and Arrows. Arrows combo with that Graveyard can definitely bring a lot of great value because there's a lot of Storm cards. And also no Mother Witch, Cannon card as well. I want to say if Adrian doesn't pick that up, I would definitely bet on Mo to pick that. And Lightning as well is probably going to be the most, like, the go-to big spell for one of these two guys.
No Archer Queen in here, so Lightning doesn't have a target in that one. Mohamed Light often does pick Goblins. Goblins and Log, two of his most popular picks when playing in this game mode. And as you can see, he goes with his favorite Goblins here. An obvious pairing with the Golden Knight and the NATO as the first two picks for Adrian Piedra. Back to Mohamed's side.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if Royal Giant EQ could be yeah, there we go. Fisherman coming in from Mo. Royal Giant EQ, there doesn't seem to be something that could completely hard counter it. The only thing from Adrian would be the Inferno Dragon or the Sparky, but there is an Ice Spirit on board. There is a Zap on board. But he does have to go with the Miner.
I just want to point out that we do have Pump as one of the buildings in this selection for draft mode today. So you can see Pump not being picked by these players because of that rule that we have in place.
Yep.
So going Miner.
Interesting to see it there, but it not getting picked up. Did you just see the Miner pick from Mo? Are you behind the clean feed by any chance?
I saw them. Yeah, right. So now just saw the pick of Inferno Dragon from Adrian Piedra. We are working off of a clean feed here, folks, so we might not be perfectly synced up. We'll try to get it synced up during gameplay, but now Adrian going with the Princess and the Inferno Dragon. Musketeer the pick. Does Mo kind of have to go? I guess he has Miner, so it doesn't really have to go Arrows here, but it does feel like Arrows is a pretty important pick right now.
It would definitely help, but I'm just really interested to see these support cards that are gonna get picked right now. Mo does end up just going with an EQ, kind of waiting on it a little bit. Also, I love the Musketeer pick from him because, like we mentioned, there's no Fireball or Poison, so it's always going to end up getting that value. I'm just not sure what Adrian's going to be able to go with, though. This is going to be tricky. He does end up going with the Goblin Barrel. That is...
And does Adrian pick the Arrows here now? No, he goes the Ice Spirit. So at this point, Mo kind of has to pick Arrows with both the Princess and... He could go Delivery and just always plan on having that timing there for the Goblin Barrel, but I think that was an oversight on Adrian's part, not picking up the Arrows. We'll see if Mo chooses to make that his second spell here. Goes Delivery defensively instead, so we'll see a lot of Miners on those Princesses, and then we'll see that timing. You don't have to hover Delivery. You can play it reactively. You just have to be kind of expecting that Goblin Barrel.
Yeah, that is a great pick from Mo, though. Just screaming confidence, you know? Obviously, you can get outcycled, but with the spells in hand, going with delivery just shows that it's his comfort. Because he could have gone with arrows, but I think he just prefers that delivery, not even for the Goblin Barrel, but to help him with other cluster pushes as well.
And here we go, going for our final pick for Adrian. He does grab the Knight. So Knight and Golden Knight usually not all the time together. We'll see what Adrian's final pick choice is going to be. Does he go with another spell here? No, goes for a Lumberjack. Fascinating choice. And now does Mohamed try to abuse the air a bit here? He could go Lava here, and with very little, I guess the Inferno Dragon. He doesn't really have anything to reset the Inferno Dragon, so Lava not a good pick. Instead stays to the ground with the Cannon Cart.
Yep. Interesting picks from both players. I love that we have both decks on the left side. Really keeps us knowing of the remaining cards that they have in the deck at all times.
And I know that the game sounds a little bit quiet here, folks. I'm going to let me see if I can actually just fix that real quick now. All right. And then I will go ahead and adjust that back here. And there we go. Now we have our... Wait a second. Why do I still have that up? Hold on.
Adrian protecting the Inferno Dragon with the Knight and going in with the Goblin Barrel. That is going to get picked up by the delivery in the back. And Goblins for the eye drag. There we go. All right.
So we have this interesting sort of bait variation. What role do you see the Lumberjack? And this was an interesting kind of late game play here. What role did you see the Lumberjack having in this?
I think because Mo lacks a knockback on offense in terms of a log and a snowball, having both the Knight and the Lumberjack is going to make it difficult for Mo to get minor connections. And I'm not sure if he forgot about the NATO or just doesn't care if the King Tower is activated. You know, maybe he wants to like make things more difficult for himself. But definitely this matchup isn't the worst for Adrian. I actually liked how the second half of his draft picks went.
Yeah, the NATO, the minor into the NATO is interesting, and of course, getting that King Tower activation early, not exactly what the Prince of Egypt wanted. Baby Dragon, and that's a nice little sequence there from Mo, knowing the Fish Boy was going to pull the Knight away, and Baby Dragon targets Princess. So it works out very nicely for him. Now some chip on the right-hand side here.
Yeah, good selection there from Mo to go in with the Miner, knowing that it's single elixir, and that's going to be basically one of the only times that he's going to get Miner on the tower without it being defended.
And Miner to the left-hand lane, picked up by the Goblins. So barrel long, barrel to the left-hand lane, picked up by Goblins low. Princess does connect.
One thing to watch out for is that Tornado Golden Knight. Definitely could give Mo some serious problems.
Golden Knight Tornado used defensively that time. Cannon Cart going to go get behind the Musketeer. This is kind of interesting, right? You're looking at the way these drafted Cannon Cart and Musketeer, kind of similar-ish roles. Obviously, the Cannon Cart not doing all the same things the Musketeer can do, but both of them can create pressure the opposite direction.
Yeah, I think Mo just gambled on the fact that Piedra wasn't going to pick the Lightning just because it didn't really fit into his deck at all. And he's always going to get some good amount of value from his troops because they're both ranged, and the only problem, like I said, is going to be that Golden Knight. So Golden Knight, like always, is probably going to be the game changer in this one.
Mo cycling EQs early on the right-hand side. 90 seconds-ish left. 22:06 on the right-hand lane. Lumberjack won't give much value to the remaining troops. Mo a little late there with the delivery. No, does get it just in time. I thought that was half step late, but does get it in. Still a pile on the left-hand side starting to cause problems. NATO pulls it all together. Golden Knight does not connect to tower, though. Minute 15 remaining. So here we are, Mini, 22:06 to 24:69, and delivery still working. Is there a point here where, I know Mo's not one to typically fall for it, but where Adrian goes maybe an extra tile long or so, or short to try to mess with this Goblin barrel, or with this delivery, especially at this stage.
Knowing that delivery is always going to be coming down for it, 100%. Because if he had... The Goblins are most likely always going to come down to pull a Lumberjack or a Golden Knight towards the middle. So he could make those gambles, and yeah, I mean, here we just see Mo being consistent with the delivery timing, so paying off with this gamble.
A little outcycled on the delivery, but no worry, Goblins get there. Golden Knight going for the dash, and the Fisherman pulls the Golden Knight away and saves what might have been some game-changing damage. Great work from the Fisherman, who ended up being a real MVP here, both defensively, but also right at the bridge with that earlier play. And as the Miner goes to the inside here, Adrian just has to step back for a second and recognize what happened, which was another vintage performance by our defending world champion.
Yeah, very well played from Mo. That Fisherman was definitely a very heads-up play, just knowing that Golden Knight dash definitely going to come down. And he did exactly what he needed to do in that game, because Adrian did have a lot of room for mistake, but obviously when you go up against Mo, that room for mistake definitely goes down just because of the caliber of player that he is.
And here you go, just taking a quick look at the replay from that one, and this was the brilliant move where I think we actually, let me just go back and bring it back a little bit more here. So we see the Golden Knight working on the left-hand side, the Princess and the Knight here trying to all break through. And this is actually a little bit earlier than the one I was talking about. So let's go ahead and we'll cycle through to the next Golden Knight push. And so here we go. We get the barrel down, Golden Knight at the bridge, Goblins go to work, and that NATO pulls it all together, but the Fisherman played in a perfect spot to go ahead and prevent that damage. And now we have our defending world champion up one. And Minnie, what a great little play that was by Mo. And of course, you've been there specifically the last couple of weekends. You've been there a bunch in this game mode. One of the things about this game mode, Minnie, that makes it so compelling is that players can't play decks they're comfortable with, right? They're playing decks that they're having to learn how it plays on the fly, and that just hasn't stopped Mohamed Light at all.
Yeah, definitely. In this game mode, it's definitely something that I feel super comfortable just because of the knowledge of every card, how they do well, what they don't do well against. And that's something that Mo, who spends probably more time on the game than 99% of players who play Clash Royale, knows inside and out. So, I mean, it favors him being the best player in the world, and it just favors him because he spends so much time playing the game. It's like the perfect game mode for him.
And as a quick note, I see people asking this in the chat, what does first place get? It's a $15,000 prize pool, $7,500 of it going to our first place player. And look at this, Adrian Piedra picking Zap as his first pick, which, looking at the board here, I'm not really understanding, other than that's the only true small spell, maybe. And Mo recycling or rewinding our meta to a couple of months ago and goes Bird Monk.
Yeah, I feel like Mo's definitely gotten the upper hand in just this initial part of the draft. Being Piedra, I probably would have drafted the Fireball starting out. The Zap is okay because it gives him room to combo his Zap. It's not terrible. But because there's Mother Witch, because there's Magic Archer, Fireball was not a bad starting pick at all. But Mo just gets the very safe Phoenix and Monk combo. And now that Piedra's gone with those spells, we see Mo going with the Rascals, which is going to be pretty hard for Piedra to deal with.
Now, of course, that Magic Archer is pretty safe on Piedra's side, so the Lightning, of course, could be an issue, but we'll see if Adrian chooses to just abuse that Magic Archer as time goes on. And just some Fireball bait here. I mean, he's just looking to build. He's building a Pigs deck, and here's the question now: does Mo? Well, Adrian does have this pick. Adrian almost kind of has to pick Pigs here. It feels like. Otherwise, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked. Does Mo steal the Pigs here just to make Adrian's deck awkward?
I don't think so, just because he's going to be so comfortable defending with the cannon and whatever else he chooses to defend it. And if Adrian picks pigs, that's just begging for Mo to pick Mega Knight, and then with a Mega Knight, he'll probably complement it with a Ram. Even though it's time, just probably going to pick one more spell. But, I mean, I do notice from Mo that when he's, like, winning, he does like to make things harder for himself and make some crazy decks. He smiles at the Mother Witch pick from Adrian, which I think I see why, because Mo picked that Monk at the start just because he saw the Mother Witch and the Magic Archer at the start. So interesting picking here from Adrian. We'll see. It's probably going to complement it with a Ram Rider, and Mo, based on his deck, might be the one that ends up going with Hoggies just to accommodate himself a little bit more, or a Graveyard, one of the two.
So here we go. Final pick for Mo. Remember, Adrian, having lost last game, picks first and last this game. So Adrian is trying to get a good idea of what he thinks Mo might do. Mo does take the pigs here. And so now Adrian has to make a choice. Yes, Drill's on the board, Ram Rider's on the board. Graveyard's not really a great option here for him.
It's not the worst. Honestly, if I was Adrian, based on the defenses that Mo has. Oh, what?
So here we go. Adrian just chooses to go with a no-win condition pick all the way around. And we'll see if he can just defend and then get damage somehow.
I mean, here's the thing. That is a good pick, but you need a win condition. Sometimes it happens just when you're like in the heat of picking your last card that you have two good options that you're not sure about. Seeing the lack of responses to a Furnish from Mo probably compelled him to pick that, but I mean, the question is how he's going to get damage on tower.
Answering two questions here in chat. First, Seifu SFL saying suggesting Graveyard into Mother Witch. No, suggesting Graveyard for Adrian Piedra, who has Mother Witch, not for Mohamed Light, just to clarify that. And the second commentator here is longtime pro Mini in the building here. So, who's been competing in a lot of the Mega Draft brackets on my channel over the last month of January. And look at this. And Mo's just, yeah, come on. And Adrian gets caught totally flat-footed. And that's a bird going wild on the left-hand side, and that's early trouble for Adrian.
I mean, is he going to pick off? No, he's just going to chill here. It's not terrible because Mo has no direct damage, but he's got the Monk ability, and that's. I just feel like Adrian had to survive with double Elixir with this deck to be able to play it out. Looking back at his pick, the Furnace was his kind of comfort towards the pigs, but it just didn't work out in that defense. He just got overwhelmed completely, and on top of that, the bird respawned as well. So, not the best.
So now we're kind of going to be waiting this one out for the victory. And I saw someone ask, who's Adrian Piedra? Well, Adrian Piedra was the LATAM Fall #1 and #2 finisher for CCGS back in 2017. He got second place in the spring and first place in the fall, and then top 8 at CCGS Worlds in 2017. And then after that, of course, had a long career in CRL team, starting out in 2018 with Complexity, finishing second place there and spending most of his CRL career with Complexity before moving to Chivas Esports in 2020. So, long-time pro player, and then, of course, also very popular content creator in Spanish with 257,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel.
Yeah, Piedra seems to be holding this one out in terms of damage. Monk did use his ability on defense. Pigs are going to get one shot off and kills it before he can get another one down. On the right side, but those Rascals going to town, and I just don't see how Piedra's going to get breakthrough.
It's going to be nearly impossible, especially with that 325 on the left-hand side. Now, keep in mind, the one X factor here is that Mo does have no direct damage on the tower. And that's while it hasn't been a problem thus far, as we get into triple elixir, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Mo would be unable to finish a tower. So while it does seem like Mo probably has this one, we'll see if Adrian can hold the defense and then somehow overwhelm the opposite direction.
Yeah, look at that Monk pushing the Giant Skeleton back, and then he can get his ability down to activate the tower. This is just been going so poorly for Piedra. Nothing worked out. I'm so sad because he did some great picks, but Mo just does what Mo does. It's just,
and that,
you know.
Okay, here we go. This is an interesting Magic Archer. Does get a couple of shots here. Monk trying to push its way on through. Does not get a second ability down. That's a nice bird here on the Mother Witch up high. Barb Barrel gets the Magic Archer off the board. 2 sets of zappies. First set will go down. 35 seconds left. I don't think Adrian breaks through here, but certainly trying to make his case the best that he can.
Yep, is that Monk going to lock on? Nope, stays out of range. Pushes it back, and then gets the ability down. That's just textbook Clash Royale for Mo.
And, you know, interesting thing to note here, right? And this has been a debate. You were in the conversation for some of that debate. Congratulations, Mohamed Light, for winning, as he often has done. You were part of that same discussion, or at least saw some of that discussion. The Monk ability, right? And balance changes released and announced today. As we go ahead and take a look at this, Mohamed Light moving past Adrian Piedra will face the winner of Vitor versus Wallace here. I believe that match will be tomorrow. So we'll be facing the winner of that one. And so, Minnie, you were part of that conversation. We just saw the Monk completely dominate here. Clash Royale announced the balance changes, a little bit of a buff to the Monk in terms of hit speed, and they said they're watching the Monk as far as that ability, and some discussion about should that ability stay 1 elixir, should it be 2 elixir, and there's arguments for both of those things. Is the fix for Monk, because Monk, we just saw the power there, is it to make that ability 2 elixir, or is it to keep the ability 1 elixir but adjust the power of that ability? For example, making it last not as long, or reflect only a portion of the damage, or a lesser portion of the damage, things like that.
I feel like it reflects the reflection itself is on point. If anything, like in terms of the reflection, I would have it reflect all the spirits instead of 1. Also, like reflecting spells. Like, I mean, I guess Zap isn't a projectile, but there's some little things like that. I do feel like making it 2 elixir wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But then I feel like Monk would have to come back down to 4 elixir, because 5 plus 2 would just make it completely out of the meta. I think too much elixir, unless it fits into a deck where you can, like a Golem or something, where you can bank that much elixir in 1 push. For the casual player base in general, I think it's at a great spot right now. It's definitely a troop that you can unlock, have some fun with the ability to be like, oh, and then continue. Oh, this reflects like spells and all that, and then really get to enjoy it. So I myself don't mind where it's at right now.
Well, here we go, taking a look at the pick, who will pick first, and so Vitor will get the first pick in game number 1. We'll go ahead and see how that works out for him. So far, of course, that first pick has been pretty powerful. And then again, reminder that the loser of game 1 will get first pick in game number 2. So it will not be staying the same way the entire time. We've seen, of course, players battle and take wins from that, having that second pick position. So let's talk about this a little bit, Minnie. Strategies when we're talking about how much does your deck picking change from your experience with having first pick versus having second pick?
First pick, I feel like it's got, but comfort, so to speak, because you see all the cards, and let's say your opponent wants to make the exact same strategy, you have the ability to be the one who uses that strategy just because you had that same pick. Now, last pick has the chance. Second pick, I'm sorry. Just to clarify, second pick does pick last, right?
No, it's first
no.
pick.
First pick picks last.
You pick first and last.
Okay.
But second pick gets to, you pick your one card, and second pick gets to react with 2 cards.
Yeah. I mean, I would still give the advantage to first pick, just because like here, Wallace goes with the monk instantly, probably because he sees so many projectile and range troops on the board. Let's see, you got Archer Queen, Cannon Cart, Hunter, Sparky, just so many, and he's got the comfort of going with that. And then he also puts Vitor in somewhat awkward position because he can't really go with Archer Queen unless he wants to complement with another air troop that's gonna be able to come down once that Archer Queen gets taken out by the monk ability.
And you see 2 things happening here with Vitor's picks, and this is great for those of you who are trying to complete the challenge right now inside the game. First of all, Vitor, neither player here picking win conditions yet. They're both taking their time, making sure they're not trying to expose what their plan is too much early on. But you also saw Vitor did a great job of recognizing that Monk was on the board. A lot of people would just go ahead and grab Archer Queen the first thing they see there, but Monk counters Archer Queen so beautifully that Vitor recognized, hey, if I pick AQ, the Monk will get that pick, and decides to avoid it. Now, I'm curious to see what build he's going for overall, but you see Vitor taking in the full 36 cards as opposed to just grabbing the most powerful card in a vacuum on the board right when it comes out.
Yeah, I see Wallace very comfortable in this picking process. I think he's probably going to end up going with Graveyard. He does love that RG, but with that Inferno Dragon pick, I don't think he's going to go with it. Wouldn't be the best play. Vitor... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and just as I'm talking about Monk being a counter for the Archer Queen, you now see Vitor flip that script by going with the Inferno Dragon, which does not get reflected by the Monk, which he can use to protect and then eventually push through with that AQ.
Precisely that. Vitor, though, going with Archer Queen, completely fine, but I think... obviously when you're, a tip for you guys trying to complete that challenge as well, when your opponent drafts a hero in the first card, since you can't pick more than one hero in your deck, you can hold off on picking your hero from the cards that are in the pool until the last card. Vitor doing that in the 5th, which is kind of an awkward area to do that. From experience though, with myself, I think he was just kind of lost with what deck he really wanted to go with based on the cards that Wallace had supplemented his combo with. And sometimes you use that champion pick to buy yourself some time because you know you're going to pick it. You're unsure about what to pick next, and you pick that Archer Queen just to give yourself 15 extra seconds to think about your next card.
Yeah, and this is kind of an awkward pick here with the Graveyard pick for Vitor. Obviously, Wallace doesn't have a lot of great individual cards for it, and troops for it, but the Bomb Tower, Poison, Zap, all different ways to clear that Graveyard out. Is Vitor just banking he can outcycle that Poison in triple elixir with this Graveyard?
I mean, at first glance, Wallace's deck just seems so well-rounded to deal with Graveyard. Initially, just because of the Poison itself, but Cannon Card as well is just so good at taking care of that Graveyard. I think Vitor just... Let's recap on the other win conditions that were there. There was Ram Raider that Wallace took, which wouldn't have gone well against the Bomb Tower. There was a Royal Giant on the board. There's a Bomb Tower, then there's a Hunter.
There's a
so many
Balloon.
cards to really take care of it. Yep, Balloon, and there's a Hunter for that, and also the Bomb Tower to pull it. And I think there were Royal Hogs, which you don't want to go with Royal Hogs into a Bomb Tower. So I think Vitor kind of just went with the least worst thing that he could have in that situation. Yeah.
And here we go, little Graveyard push, and Ram Rider comes out trying to work on the Graveyard and the Inferno Dragon. Does a decent enough job. Some chip damage will come in, though. Monk not that fast. And the Monk does not have to activate ability, obviously, so this AQ in a whole lot of trouble. Monk will finish that off, but of course he won't get much value in the opposite direction. Elixir a little bit in favor of Wallace here. Damage leaning towards Vitor.
Yeah, Wallace did end up popping that Monk ability because he thought Vitor would go with one of his own. So smart from Vitor, holding off on that. And we'll see a Zap cycle from Wallace. I do think that Wallace's Ram Rider pushes are going to be very, very difficult to deal with once we get to double elixir, just because of the lack of a knockback and the building.
And again, that's kind of the weird math of trying to figure out, drafting in this. I mean, these drafts go so fast. 15 seconds per pick is such a, especially when you're talking about those first couple of picks, is such a crazy thing to try to work out. And then you're not only that, but you're reacting to all the stuff your opponent's doing at the same time and working in this tiny meta of 36 cards. It's a lot, very complicated overall, and a nice monk play there. Does get in front of the cannon cart, so the AQ really can't do a lot. She does stay alive, and that's what I was talking about beforehand, the Inferno Dragon, giving that AQ just a bit more against that monk.
Yeah, definitely saving him there. This is actually going to be probably the best, I was going to say the best chance that Vitor could get, but great poison at the bridge to contain that entire push from Wallace. Does end up getting a shot in there. But back to what we were talking about, the dealing with everything that your opponent plays. We noticed that Vitor, because he did end up getting that second pick. Oh, ability from Wallace. Not sure if that was probably a misclick. Just trying to place a troop down or something. We
probably trying to play that hunter in the back corner, which is where that, you know, the or is it on the back? No, it should be on the back right.
It's on the ability's on the back right, so I'm not really sure what ended up happening there. Good job from Vitor getting his Archer Queen ability down, because the monk ability wasn't just back yet, and good Valkyrie knowing that he was going to zap the Inferno Dragon and he needs something else to help deal with the Ram Rider.
Fastest 3-card cycle here for Vitor is just 4 Elixir with the Bar Barrel, the Skeletons, and the Fire Spirit. We'll see how much he can abuse that for graveyards here in Triple Elixir. On the other side of things, I mean, that fastest 3-card cycle for Wallace is going to be, I believe, at least 9 is the fastest 3-card cycle for Wallace, which is a very, very different situation.
Yeah, Wallace is definitely on the heavier side, but we're seeing here in Double Elixir, like we mentioned, Vitor did not have a building, so it's getting super difficult to deal with those Ram Raiders. Every time Wallace plays, he doesn't even have to place them strategically. He just has to complement them with a monk every time. We're going to see a monk come down probably at the bridge, and this is just a great matchup from Wallace. We were talking about yeah, that Ram Raider is going to hit. We'll recap on the pick right after.
Graveyard.
But right now, Wallace is going to town.
Yep, Graveyard in, being tanked for. Poison, though, causing tons of problems. Archer Queen at the bridge. Monk does come down and gets in front of that Hunter. So AQ getting reflected, and the Inferno Dragon doesn't quite do enough. Lane switch now for Vitor, but goes right into the minions up high. Graveyard back to the right-hand side now with just quick cycle cards trying to find some way through. Archer Queen at the bridge, 24 seconds left, 14-02. Arrows trying to find some way for Skeletons on the board. Can Vitor get one more Graveyard down here? It's not impossible, but that Ram Rider is going to be a huge problem as the Zap gets the reset. Can he get a block? And Ram Rider connects. That's GG, well played. Wallace takes game number 1, and we're going to see Vitor going with the first pick again here in game number 2.
Yeah, very good picking there from Wallace. Vitor, the main problem he had, I want to say that second pick was his worst enemy, because he didn't make any mistakes in the draft, but one thing that I did notice is that he picked the Skeleton and the Fire Spirit as his first 2 cards, kind of just to like coast and make his deck revolve around those 2 cycle cards. Not a bad idea at all. But that costed him later on in the draft, because he made a deck that if he held off on that Fire Spirit and like picked the Bar Barrel instead of the Fire Spirit, which the Fire Spirit didn't really do much in that matchup, he could have had that extra slot for building that could have changed the matchup completely.
Here we go into our second draft, and no AQ. We're seeing Monk, Skeleton King, and Golden Knight. And this is a nice little pick here with the Goblins first. Snowball, Arrows, Bar Barrel. Your initial counters there. Looking at the win conditions, we have Giant Golem, the Lava Hound, RG, Pigs, Wall Breakers, Skeleton Barrel, and the Ram Rider. Only buildings here: Expo, the Mortar, and let's see, Inferno Tower, and the Bomb Tower. So looking like he's building towards RG early on with Wallace. And does Vitor make a pick here if it continues to be no win condition by some of the late picks here? I'm questioning here, Minnie, if Wallace can even risk an RG pick, just because with that last pick, Vitor could always go with the Inferno Tower with no real phenomenal counter to it.
He really could. I think Wallace is with getting that Fisherman at the start and arrows kind of just to get rid of some distraction troops. He probably will end up going with RG himself. But one thing that I was initially saw from Vitor's draft as soon as he got the chance to draft 2 cards in a row, if he gets Fireball, he's gotten the Monk now, so we know that Wallace can't get that. Okay, there we go. Wallace, that's a great pick with Valkyrie, because if not, I was going to say 3 Musketeers from Vitor would have been extremely difficult to deal with. So great job from Wallace not letting Vitor have that Valkyrie as well.
Bar Barrel, the next pick for Vitor. Wallace also picking the Inferno Tower, taking the biggest challenge to his Royal Giant off the board. Both Royal Giant and Ram Rider to a certain degree, but Royal Giant most certainly. The Mortar could be used to obviously pull the Royal Giant. Doesn't hard counter the same way. And keep in mind, Minnie, this is the big thing is, you think about cards that in certain deck builds, we in the past we would have said Mortar decks counter Royal Giant decks. But that's Mortar decks that are constructed as a normal meta deck. In this case, you're never in a full-on meta situation.
Yeah, precisely that. And especially Mortar decks rely on either an Ice Spirit and that log to get pushback from the RG, which changes defense after defense, so many interactions. So RG here from Wallace, while Vitor does have a Cannon Cart and a Monk, I really don't think it's the best idea, but I think going with Rammer again is going to be his best bet. Vitor is probably going to end up going either with Pigs or a Mortar for a win condition, just to kind of try to counteract that Inferno. And there's not going to really be, this is going to be a win condition type of game because the spells aren't exactly too reliant on damage. So let's see what the next pick here is going to be, but I really like this draft from both players. Okay, that's an excellent pick from Wallace.
So this is interesting because Wallbreak, you had this pick for Vitor where wall breakers, and they're not the great, usually you pair wall breaker something else for a win condition situation. And so you go, hey, you're going to pick Pigs into a bomb tower, but if Vitor picks bomb tower, how the heck does he get on tower, do any actual damage here?
Yeah.
Whoa. Here we go.
I mean, I like the flare. That's all I can say.
And I wonder if they were, there they go, the 3 Musketeers picture. They were not ready for a 3M pick happening right there in the production booth because that's absolutely crazy. Look, 3M wall breakers, and you talk about the counters here. From Wallace's side, what are his biggest moves here to stop these 3 Musketeers?
Valkyrie is definitely going to be his best bet. Vitor, I think after thinking long and hard after it, he's going to attempt to get probably 2-3 Musketeers on the board because with the monk in hand, he's got a 6 elixir cycle with the Barbarian Goblins and Wall Breakers. But I mean, we covered it mid draft. Wallace did a great pick picking that Valkyrie to prevent this. Vitor, thinking about it, still decided to go with it, thinking that this was the way to go in the draft. So interesting to see how these wall breakers will force elixir out of Wallace and how that will lead to an elixir advantage in the bigger picture for those 3Ms to be dropped later on.
And a Cannon Cart connects on the right-hand side, so we're seeing maybe a bit stretched thin there. Wallace now down to 0 on that Golden Knight pick. Bar Barrel will go ahead and get a swing on the left-hand side too, so look at that. Vitor just stretching Wallace very, very thin in that interaction with the dual lane pressure.
Yeah, precisely that. Stretching him thin is a great way to describe it because Vitor cycled those goblins to pressure on the right-hand side just so he could get a bar barrel to place at the bridge for those guards because it was 1 card off, and he gets that 1 hit on the left. That's how aware he is of the damage that he needs to get early on in this matchup.
I'm a little surprised there with all the elixir he had, Vitor didn't pop the ability for chip damage on both towers.
I mean, did he use it before?
I don't remember if he used it. I don't think he used it. Maybe it had already popped. Golden Knight does not connect. Goblins just get down. And here we see the first 3 Musketeers. And this is one of my favorite things about this game mode, is that cards that are essentially dead on arrival in Clash Royale, in whether it be dual mode, whether it be playing ladder, whatever it might be, because of these mini metas, they're able to find. We've seen Wizard be a phenomenal pick in dual mode, right? We've seen Witch be a killer pick in dual mode. We've seen cards that don't really have a competitive place be critical because of these mini metas, and it's so fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly that. It's not every day we get to see 3M wall breakers, so Vitor definitely giving us that. I love how he handled that attack on Wallace, because he knew Wallace was probably going to try to hold the Valkyrie for the Musketeers on the right, but he created enough pressure on the left to make Wallace wait, hesitate, and then he was able to punish him.
Now, what does Wallace do here? Keep in mind, Vitor does have the fireball, so just trying to go all one lane here.
Wow.
Wow. Pig split, 1 to the right, 2 to the left. Musketeers go 2 right, 1 left. And that's going to be some decent damage on the left-hand side and does put Wallace back in the mix with a minute 35 on the dot there remaining. The lead still with Vitor, but Wallace starting to battle back a bit.
Yeah, Vitor's just playing this super well with 3M. I mean, this is probably why he had the confidence to go with it, despite Wallace having the Valkyrie. He's just playing this super, super well.
And now splitting once more. Golden Knight goes to the right-hand side. Triple Elixir on its way. I don't know if Vitor can stop that Golden Knight dash before the Muskies, and he can't. So he decides to just go ahead and tank the damage there. Vout trying to clean up everything here at the bridge. We are in triple elixir. Wall breakers behind the Muskie, and the Muskie connects on the right-hand side. Goblin's trying to sneak through on the left-hand side. That's it. GG. Well played. Wallace just really had no answer there in the end, and that's another phenomenal play there by Vitor.
Yeah, Vitor in that game, perfect like gameplay. I myself was hesitant on 3M pick, but he played that well. Kind of like he's been playing 3M like on a regular basis. That was very well played from him. Wallace, I feel like, had the right idea in terms of how to combat all the cards that were on the table, but Vitor was just so confident in the execution of the Three Musketeers that he ended up taking that one.
And taking a look at some of the action here with these 3M, and what we saw a lot early on, we saw lots of bridge pressure, some dual lane pressure with stuff building up to the right-hand side and then wall breakers opposite lane or vice versa. And then, of course, later we saw, as we got into deeper elixir, the Three Musketeers just really putting some pressure. And we're talking about how 3M doesn't really function. Well, when you know that you're not going to run into certain cards that might destroy Three Musketeers, and here we go. Wallace picking Lightning first and looking around at the board here. Lightning, of course, countering the Archer Queen pretty nicely, although not always if you just go ahead and bridge Queen. Vitor picking up the Log immediately as well. Very, very interesting pick here early on, and looking like cycle here for Vitor.
Yep, Log, definitely a great pick to start off from Vitor, just because looking at the cards on the table is always going to get value. And honestly, even when there's no spam cards, Log is just always a good safe card to have. Wallace does go with the Lightning first. I think he's just going to bank on going with the Archer Queen, but because I don't see any other hard counters to it. Looking at it, it's probably going to get good value. Vitor may opt to have a Skarmy on defense and play out of range of that bar barrel to distract the counter the Archer Queen while it's popping its ability. And Vitor going with a very calm approach at the start. Wallace looking like he's going to be banking on the RG.
And minor pick for Vitor. He could go wall breakers as well. Not looking at like there's a whole lot of in the AQ pickup, just to make sure you don't have a really phenomenal support here. Of course, could go ahead and pick Firecracker on Vitor's side, just because spending Lightning to get Firecracker would be super annoying for Wallace. Archers potentially, of course, the buff that's incoming isn't quite here yet. We'll see what he goes with for the air.
Yeah, Wallace's deck right now is not in the best place. Vitor has got a building. There's no EQ. There's no win condition here that's going to be game changing, and there's also nothing that I see from Wallace to take care of this miner so far. And he ends up taking that Golden Knight too, which would have been, well, actually no, he can't pick the Golden Knight because he's already got the AQ. But it'll be interesting to see if he decides to go with the Skarmy just to have a decent response to the miner. Obviously, Vitor can log at the front, but always a comfort card to have.
And those of you who are tuning in right now, this is the AMG Cup Mega Draft Edition, and that's what you're seeing here. This challenge is currently active inside the game. Super fun to play. I just completed it on my second account. Can't wait to go do it on my main account as well. And we'll be back here again tomorrow. Lots more today, of course, but the finals will be tomorrow, so if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. You can see we're almost to 90,000 subs, trying to make it to 100,000 here fairly soon. Would love you to be a part of that one and be a part of all this great action. Okay, so Skeleton Dragons, great pick with Fireball. Of course, the big question is he going to ever give... I guess he's not really concerned. Looking at this, there's not a ton of concerns about giving lightning value.
Yeah, I mean, Skeleton Dragons will get taken off with that lightning. By the way, did the clean feed pause for you as well? So
yeah, clean feed. The clean feed did just glitch out for me as well, folks. So that's coming from the production side of things. We'll go ahead and wait. I'm going to notify production that the clean feed is having trouble. Let me go ahead and tell them right now. Clean feed froze. And as soon as we have that back, we'll go back over to the gameplay side of things. But we do get a chance to kind of sit here and look for a moment as we're waiting for whatever that last pick is. I guess not. The big thing here for Vitor is just not putting Golden Knight under his Skeleton Dragons for a lot of lightning value.
Yeah. Did it just refresh for you?
Just refresh, and we are in game, and it is, of course, it is the Giant, and I'm at 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
All right, let me go ahead and count that again.
2, 11, 10.
All right, perfect. Should be
there we go.
All right. Yeah, looked like Wallace was gonna go with that Royal Giant from the start with the lightning pick. Vitor kept it straightforward with just the miner. We're gonna see how Wallace handles that because he doesn't exactly have a mini tank like a Knight or a mini pack that just dropped right on top of it. But I think the Rascals are going to be super game-changing for Vitor on the defensive end.
And there you go, Rascal Boy up high, Skeletons plus the Ice Spirit doing its job as well. And again, talking about that 3-card cycle, how important it is at all times. Fastest way around for Vitor is going to be 6 with the Tombstone, Ice Spirit, and Log. Pretty quick around on the other side here for Wallace as well, with the 1 Elixir Electro Spirit, the 2 Elixir Bar Barrel, and then 3. So 6 on both sides if they want to get around really, really quickly once their champion's down.
Yep, and this is going to be... I mean, if Vitor has a Rascal cycle, that's going to be a saving grace for this counter push, but if he overcommits on this, we could see an RG come down on the other lane. Looking like it is going to be an overcommitment. Careful, because Wallace can go RG on the left-hand lane right at any moment. Looks like he's going to build from the back, though.
Wallace is up, decides to cannon cart to the right-hand side, so Wallace with a lot on the board right now, and RG to protect. AQ does get down. I don't think it's going to be enough to get RG on the board, and cannon cart will break down by the bridge as well. So the advantage held, but not actually taken advantage of here for Wallace.
Yeah, I mean, those Skelly Dragons were just a super heads-up play, knowing that the previous Archer Queen had just died, and that is Wallace's only air counter that isn't the lightning.
All right, Rascals go to the left here as we go into sudden death overtime. So far, very little work on either side. Vitor with the lead, though, 22:53 to 26:02 against his former teammate.
Yeah, that's going to be a fireball right there. I'd like to see Wallace play higher bomb towers just to try to kill those Rascals with some splash damage before the Rascal Boy is able to walk away from the splash radius of the girls. But here, see how this push is defended.
And right back to Tombstone, well sequenced. Lightning trying to make room for the RG, doesn't get it done. And now Miner going to try to see if he can get a little value the opposite direction. Rascal Girls are not going to be tanked for here. Cannon Cart will pick them up, and Ghost comes out even earlier to keep that Cannon Cart nice and healthy with 80 seconds left.
Yeah, this is a very uncomfortable position for Wallace because he knows he can't break through. And he needs to get himself together and build a big push from the back. Probably split lane one, and then triple X is going to be a lot more viable. That's happened. But Vitor just has the Scourger Dragons that we're just seeing how great of a pick they are.
RG trying to see if they can get past here. Lightning takes out one Skelly Drag. Golden Knight trying to DPS this Royal Giant down. Royal Giant will get 2 shots here. No, the Tombstone comes out and stops the second shot. Necessary play here by Vitor with 43 seconds left. Can Wallace protect this AQ? She goes into the ability. Ghost will not be able to distract and keep her alive. Bomb Tower does for a little while, though. And now back to another Royal Giant, Royal Ghost in front. Lightning, not quite enough elixir there for it. But now, does he pull the trigger? And he does on the Golden Knight. The Golden Knight will stay alive. Ice Spirit to slow things down. 1671 to 1847. Mini, who's going to win this one?
Wallace, that Archer Queen just went down, so he's not going to be able to get two lightning shots down. He's got a lightning right now and cast a miner, otherwise... No, not even that. It's going to be over. Just like that. He did end up getting another fireball, too. Nope, lightning not in cycle.
And there you go. Vitor able to shut things down. The Rascals and, more importantly, the Skeleton Dragons just making the job of Wallace so difficult right there at the bridge. And while the RG was able to break through a little bit, wasn't able to break through the way he wanted. And Wallace now will move on. And we're going to get a fun matchup in the second round here, Minnie, between two longtime friends who certainly have seen quite a bit of each other, as Vitor will have to step up into the pocket and take on our defending world champion in Mohamed Light.
Yep, definitely two guys that know each other super well. Vitor being a veteran of the game, definitely super comfortable, and definitely not scared at all to play somebody like Mo. So that's definitely going to be a great matchup. Definitely excited to see that. And kind of unfortunate for Wallace. I mean, I just saw a Vitor that was on top of his game today.
Yeah.
The gameplay was great. The picks were great. That just shows you just how the knowledge of a player can take him so far in this game mode.
And there you go. You have been shown. I hope I've made your day and all of your days in the future. Bilgin. Mo and Vitor are not going to be next, folks. I believe that's tomorrow. I need to double check on the schedule. I think we're going to our next bracket, our next round on the first bracket fairly soon. I think we're doing the entire first round today. I believe that's how we're planning on going through everything. And we'll have the bracket hopefully up here in just a moment. Production is in charge of that. They'll send us what we have, and hopefully we'll get it up for you guys here in a little bit. Yeah, no, next up is going to be someone who you're very familiar with, obviously, in Lucas, up against one of the two Americans in the competition in the original Expo GOAT with Airsurfer.
Yep, Airsurfer versus Lucas. I'm particularly excited to see Airsurfer's drafting because I've seen him construct some funky decks in dual modes, taking advantage of opponent burns and all that. I don't know. He's a guy that you expect to have some interesting deck picking, but Lucas has had his fair share of this game mode as well, and obviously has some accolades to back him up. So this is going to be a great one.
Yeah, Airsurfer, of course, longtime CRL veteran, played since the first season of CRL in 2018 as a part of TSM, moving from there on to Complexity and then Misfits. And then, of course, appearing at CRL Solo World Finals in 2021 and making top 6 in 2022. So talk about a guy who's been world-class now for about 6 years. There's a kind of a short list here, and he's 100% on it. On the other side, Lucas, and again, a little delay here with the feed. We'll keep on hoping that. And then, again, this is I'm seeing this is coming from all the different casters, so we'll hopefully get these little delays sorted out on the production end, and they don't disrupt too much. Back to the other side of things, of course, Lucas, who's coming off of himself a really wonderful performance at World Finals.
Yep, these two very, very familiar with each other, no doubt about that. And I mean, like we talked about. Oh, there we go, into the draft.
All right.
Are you in as well?
Yes, here we are, and let's see. 7 seconds left in this next pick. 4 seconds in the pick. And there we go. Miner, our next pick for Lucas. So you talk about, take a look at the board really quickly. You see Lucas looked at the board. I wish we'd seen this from the beginning. First pick was Queen. He saw no Monk. He saw no Lightning. And he's going, all right, already great signs for Queen. And now with the Queen Miner arrows, Lucas playing stuff he really likes.
Yep, Airsurfer being smart in response to the Queen pick takes away the log and skeletons, which are very, very useful to speed up that Queen cycle, and also a distraction troop and a pushback spell to keep that Queen alive. Lucas going with his comfort of Miner. Looks like he probably just gonna support this. Airsurfer takes his fireball. Maybe we'll see a rocket come out from Lucas.
Shout out to CWA in the chat, and big thanks to CWA and AMG for helping sponsor this event, the AMG Cup, and helping make this thing happen in my favorite game mode, Mega Draft.
It's just like minis all grown up. I like to think I am. Thank you, man. Thank you for stopping by. Airsurfer taking that Witch after taking that Fireball. Super smart pick. Exactly what I wanted to see from him. Very, very smart. Lucas opting to go with arrows and bar barrels and a rocket. All right.
So defense, miners, and rockets basically is the story here.
Essentially, he's probably gonna end up finishing this build with a cannon, or a Tesla, whichever one he feels. Probably a Tesla because he can place that higher. I mean, he can also place a cannon near the lane to prevent a Golden Knight dash. What's Airsurfer gonna finish this with is RG. Definitely a great pick. But Lucas now will probably end up picking. All right, never mind. He does end up going with a mini P.E.K.K.A, which I would have probably gone with the building. Reason being is because, like I said, Airsurfer took that log, so it's gonna hit the Royal Giant, but you don't have the pushback, so it's still gonna get shots.
Yeah, the Royal Giant is gonna come through, and that log will work on the guards, work on the mini P.E.K.K.A, make some opportunities for the RG to connect. And it kind of felt like with the minions and the guards that he kind of had enough DPS with a building to maybe hold off against the RG, but Lucas kind of going all gas, no brakes here, maybe hoping that he can turn some of those mini P.E.K.K.As into free pancakes.
Yep, that's what he's gonna need in this matchup because, I mean, Airsurfer just a brilliant pick. Taking Spear Goblins because Lucas has arrows and no log. Obviously, he's gonna have to overcommit with the arrows to kill those Spear Goblins. I did like the rocket pick from Lucas just to prevent that Witch from being dropped all the way in the back and then dropping a Royal Giant in the bridge. So it's not too comfortable for Airsurfer to break through. Don't get me wrong, but I definitely would give him the advantage in this one.
It's interesting, right? You talk about that the Inferno Dragon has to contend with the minions, and the minions are kind of a problem here in some ways because you either have to play the Witch up high enough that she's a bit exposed to get the minions away from the Inferno Dragon, or you have to go -1 with the Fireball. So I'm curious your thoughts on what the Inferno Dragon's place in this matchup is going to be as time goes on.
On offense, it's probably gonna want to be the target of the Archer Queen just to get taken down. If I was Airsurfer, I would have planned on whenever he gets an Elixir advantage, he's got an RG in the back, and then once he gets that Witch to take care of those guards and minions, Lucas has to get back to another rocket to take care of that Witch. Otherwise, it's gonna get an insane amount of value. And keep in mind that Witch is gonna be a nightmare for both the guards, minions, and mini P.E.K.K.A.
Golden Knight dashes on to the Archer Queen. She pops ability. And now a little pressure on the left-hand lane here. Lucas, a nice little minor guards push. Skeletons high from Airsurfer to control, Witch doing her job in the middle. And now Airsurfer has two different lanes to play in. And a little bit of an elixir advantage because of the cards on the board. Decides to go behind the guards, and that's going to be a significant push opposite direction.
Yep. We did see the arrows come out on offense in the previous one from Lucas, so it doesn't have them back in cycle to take care of the Witch here. Royal Giant at the bridge there would have been a good play, but he just didn't know if Lucas was going to play an Archer Queen or that Rocket, so good from Airsurfer holding off from that. Do see a Fireball coming down on the Archer Queen. And I like the way that Airsurfer is playing his cycle cards. They're always taking advantage of the spell that Lucas wastes in that moment.
Really nice minor arrows from Lucas' left-hand lane to take care of the spears and get a little bit of chip on that tower. And now you see Lucas cycling Rocket onto the RG on the right-hand side. And now does Airsurfer just try to get that Witch down and put a little pressure here?
Yeah, there we go, Inferno Dragon over there, and now he wants to cycle to a Witch and another RG in the lane that isn't being defended. But Lucas doing a great job not overcommitting. Airsurfer needs to get that Witch down when there's a 3-card cycle on the board. Great heads-up minor from Lucas to distract that Witch.
Lucas's minors have been choice so far, and arrows add a little insult to injury there. 1407 on the right-hand side as we go to triple elixir. Lucas with a pretty significant lead and not able to connect here is Airsurfer. So far, no building, no problem for Lucas in these RG defenses.
Yeah, that Archer Queen was dropping back. Airsurfer doing a great job going into the other lane. Going to be a rocket coming down. Is still going to get some damage. 2 shots, and he's going to get a Witch down on defense here.
Mine to the right-hand side, the Archer Queen up high. Goblins to distract, Skeletons to help. Golden Knight will go ahead, get out in front. 30 seconds left, though. 1185 to 1905. And yes, I saw in the chat, CWA is one of my mods, despite being one of the top content creators in all of Clash Royale. So he has time to stop by and throw out a few ban hammers here and there. 15 seconds left as the Bar Barrel works on the Witch. Is there any way through here for Airsurfer? Royal Giant down, Miner to pull the Golden Knight. Mini P.E.K.K.A gets knocked back by the log. Can't defend the AQ and break through at the same time, can he? RG gets a shot in, Rocket in the air. GG, well played. Game number 1 going to Lucas. The first pick in game 2 will be going to Airsurfer.
Yeah, super difficult there for Airsurfer to break through. I mean, Lucas played that very well. The pick from Airsurfer with the Witch, I feel like, did end up just being countered by the arrows that Lucas ended up taking. I mean, he played it super well. We expected the mini P.E.K.K.A to have some difficulties, and it wasn't dropped until the last minute because Lucas did such a great job of pressuring to the point that Airsurfer could never get a good Royal Giant push down.
And here we go, taking a look at the final moments here, and you see the lead just a little bit too much, and this RG trying to break through. The Golden Knight, and again, the minor play from Lucas was brilliant all the way through. That minor making sure the Golden Knight can't make enough room for the Royal Giant to get on tower. Let's see if we can go ahead and take a look at that minor play one more time here. So we're going to go ahead and you see the Witch trying to play defense on the right-hand side, damage getting on through. And then when the RG comes down, I think at about 12 seconds left, am I right? Golden Knight, RG right behind it. And now watch this miner to the middle, and then the mini P.E.K.K.A to the left. The guards to protect, and that mini P.E.K.K.A just able to absolutely ruin that Royal Giant. Let's go ahead and jump into our draft pick for game number 3. And CWA saying, who wants the hammer? Watch out, folks. He's dangerous.
He's ready to get some bans down. And I mean, in the last matchup, we really saw the impact of what picking Archer Queen as the first pick can have on the rest of the match. By the way, I just realized that Lucas has got that Desafia trophy in the background. In this pick, Airsurfer cannot get like good value out of an Archer Queen first pick because there is a lightning on the board, there's fireball and arrows as well. So decided to play it with an Ice Spirit to just wait it out first.
So Spirit, arrows, guards, the first 3 picks for Airsurfer, and just hedging maybe against the Queen here with the Monk.
I honestly am not sure as to why Airsurfer didn't go with log at the start, because as soon as Lucas had the chance to do it, he did the complete proper play, log and minor. Minor, I'm sorry, goblins. Reason being, take care of the counter of the card, and you can get value of the cheap card. Super great start. Monk down as well from Lucas to complement the deck, and a mortar. So Airsurfer, it would be really great for Airsurfer to take the minor away from him. Not the case though. Lucas is going to grab it probably in this pick.
Fireball the pick for Lucas, and still he has one more pick here. Does he pull Miner with his second pick? No, goes Skelly Drags.
Interesting. I think he's trying to build a well-rounded enough defense to be able to deal with what Airsurfer is trying to build, which at first glance does look like a Royal Giant tech. And a great pick from him, looking to build with that Royal Giant, taking away the biggest danger remaining with the mini pack.
So EQ for the mortar, arrows will help with the goblins and the skeleton dragons, and still no final tip of the hat here. Probably going to be RG from Airsurfer.
Yeah,
he does have options for the miner to pick up miners too.
Yeah, Lucas completing his deck with the miner. I just see a very comfortable deck from Lucas. Great job from Airsurfer though. He held it off from picking RG second to last pick. And then he was like, if Lucas doesn't play a good enough counter to Hog, I can also switch. So good job holding off in that regard from Airsurfer. And we get right into the action here.
And yeah, you see here, no mortar in starting hand, so Hog will get a couple of shots. Miner does it as well. And notice also Lucas recognizing, if you know your opponent doesn't have NATO, why play Miner in the #1 spot to open? And Lucas shows exactly. Just went to the back and immediately got a couple of shots in. Nice opening for him. Mini P.E.K.K.A. in deep, but taken care of.
Yeah, interesting errors from Airsurfer while that monk ability was in full effect. Yeah, no mortar, no goblins, and no log in that starting hand from Lucas. Actually, really unfortunate on his part. Probably going to see a Hog Rider going to come down with these two guards, kind of just to bother, see what he does. Opts to play it a lot safer.
Well, that's a hard question, right? Because you go ahead and you play that Hog and you only have 5 Elixir. Lucas certainly has mortar in hand by now. Counters up high, gets it off the board, and gets some potential lock the opposite direction. And here you see, right? So now he plays it when he has the EQ ready. Hog not going to get through. Mortar shot does go the opposite direction, but up for the Mother Witch.
Yep, EQ just half a second late there. These piggies are going to get just a little bit of damage on the tower. Airsurfer will definitely appreciate that, though. Monk probably going to come down here to protect the dragons, and then once the skeleton comes up, probably a miner to the back.
And freezes everything up high. Mini P.E.K.K.A. will do a ton of work down low. Monk Reflection does put a lot of damage onto that tower.
Yeah, that mini P.E.K.K.A. pick from Airsurfer was a super great pick. Not only did it take it away from Lucas, but it's doing wonders for him right now.
And full Hog EQ send here. Log to stop the Hog from getting a connection, 1769 to 2151 as we go into double Elixir. And Airsurfer just starting to try to put the pressure on here, content to fall a little bit behind on Elixir for that Ice Spirit.
Yeah, and Airsurfer, I love this decision to play in the other lane, knowing that Lucas can definitely win the bridge battle at the bridge. So he's going to look to divert some of Lucas' resources towards the right. Good Mother Witch coming down on the dragon, but it does end up getting reflected by the monk ability. It does end up getting this, though. This is probably going to force out a log, so he's going to probably save it. Arrow's going to come down on the left. This is a great push for Airsurfer.
And that's huge. Hog gets 1, Hog gets 2. And that's a ton of damage. 642 left-hand lane. But look at this push from Lucas. EQ on defense. Can he hold on? Skelly King trying to absorb as much of this, but look at Airsurfer going to 0, and the tankage not quite there in time for Lucas, and what could have been disaster for Airsurfer ends up being painful but not deadly.
Yeah, miner in the front was probably the way to go in that one, just to get the miner above ground tanking just a millisecond earlier.
And Monk will reflect the Mother Witch.
It takes that off the board. A Skull Dragon's going to come here to clean up this, and then with the Distraction Goblins, going to be able to clean up this push fairly easily. Oh.
Interesting there. The miner just picking up the Skeleton King and actually giving some opportunity for the mortar to not connect. Hog trying to go on tower. EQ will take off the goblins, and it kind of feels like Lucas is just trying to figure out something to do. in a very tough situation.
Yeah, great protection there. There's going to be one more EQ and one more arrows, and then that will be a good game. Very, very well played and constructed deck from Airsurfer. Lucas, I think, was just as prepared for an RG as we were, and Airsurfer with that last second change of the win condition, feeling comfortable with a Hog Rider, making a great call there.
Game number 3 on its way, and it's gonna be a fun one, folks. If you don't know already, my co-caster today is Minnie, longtime Clash Royale pro, came up to the semi-pro ranks in 2019. And really kind of had a breakout year in 2020, world finalist in 2021, and as you can hear, someone who really understands the draft game overall. And of course, I'm Rich Slayton, caster for Clash Royale League. This is my channel. This is another one of the really fun community events. You know, we have CRL, we have the official stuff, but one of the great things about Clash Royale esports is all these fun community events supported by Supercell, and of course supported by sponsors like AMG. So thank you to everyone for making these happen. And one thing that you can do that's very simple to help support events like these, subscribe to the channel. It's free. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can come back. We have the finals for this event tomorrow. So you subscribe, you hit that bell so it tells you, and you make sure you don't miss tomorrow's grand finals for that $15,000 prize with $7,500 going to the winner. And what I'm telling you, I can actually look right now. I'm at 89,848 subscribers, and there's about almost 1,800 to 2,000 of you watching right now. So if 152 of you hit subscribe right now, boom, we're at 90K and on that road to 100. So let's go.
To get into the drafting fairly quickly from these two, I believe Airsurfer picked first in this one, right?
No, this would be Lucas picking first, as Airsurfer won the last game. So, and Lucas goes, and look at this, Lucas picking Queen, does see Monk on the board, but no good spell counters for Queen. So, interesting pick, maybe trying to plan that he will later be out-cycling these monks.
Yeah, Airsurfer going with Log and Tornado. Not exactly sure as why he was so quick to get that Tornado. Maybe because he got that Hog, he's trying to accommodate to a quick fast cycle deck. I mean, sorry, because he got that Log, he's looking to get a quick cycle deck, which would be the Hog Rider, so he's taking the Nado away from Lucas as a prevention.
So here we go, EQ in. Pigs, certainly one option. You could get a quick cycle Piggy's deck in here. Keep in mind, the only buildings on the board, Inferno Tower, Barb Hut, and Goblin Hut. So that could be kind of frustrating on Airsurfer's side to deal with that, if that is, in fact, the route that Lucas chooses to go. And are we assuming that Monk is going to be the pick from a champion perspective on Airsurfer's side?
Yeah, 100%. He's got to have something for the Arch Queen this time around. We saw how Game 1 turned out when he didn't have like a direct counter to it. So I feel like he's definitely going to build around that Monk. The question is how he's going to do it, because Lucas did pick up that EQ. So I'm not so sure if Airsurfer wants to go with that Hog Rider anymore. Looking at it, he may want to go with Miner, but he's got to pick that up right now if that's the case, or else Lucas is just going to build around it.
And Miner is the pick for Airsurfer, so he has the Miner and has the best counter for the Miner. Of course, Skeletons and Vault can both do their job pretty well. Snowball can make some room for those sort of things to slide on in.
Yep, Lucas opting to go with the Goblin Hut. Very good pick. A Barb Hut here as well would be a great pick as well. Very dirty, but very smart as well.
And again, that's why you love Mega Draft, because there's a situation where a Barb Hut is actually a card someone should pick. And here we go. So the Royal Hogs, and now this is kind of forcing Airsurfer into a funky position. He doesn't have Snowball for knockback. He doesn't have great splash options unless he chooses to go with the Skeleton King. That's not even a great one. He goes Monk instead. So you got to imagine Airsurfer's kind of getting painted into a corner with needing to pick a building here.
Yeah, and that Monk was exactly what we've seen before. To buy yourself that extra time to think about the appropriate response you want, Goblin Cage wouldn't be the worst. He just decides to go with a Ram Rider, which is not what I would have instinctively gone to, but maybe he thinks that Lucas doesn't have enough DPS since he's going to use that Monk ability to take care of the Archer Queen. And Lucas finishing it up with a giant skeleton, which is very, very good at dealing damage and very good at cleaning up as well. So we'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, this is fascinating. No building, and so the EQ doesn't really have a home other than Spell Cycle right now.
Yep, Airsurfer once. Well, actually, no. Previously, it was Lucas playing the banner in the back when your opponent didn't have NATO. So heads up play there from Airsurfer getting 200 damage just from that awareness himself. Dark Goblin probably going to come down from a far range to try to take it this Archer Queen.
And that's interesting, right? Because there's real no way for Lucas to do anything about that Dark Goblin on the opposite side to make an EQ snowball. But
yeah,
you don't want to do that.
Yeah, EQ Snowball is... We're definitely going to see it at least once throughout the entire game. But it's going to be in an effort to break through as a result of not being able to break through with the rest of the cards. A lot of Goblins coming down here. No log and cycle from Airsurfer. Pigs coming down here is going to be problematic. Yep, and there we go.
And there we go. Pigs right behind the tanking giant skeleton. Royal Ghost trying to work with log. Probably not, doesn't have the elixir for the NATO. It also been going to 0. Wouldn't have been a good idea. Takes a bunch of damage, though. Lucas retakes the lead 26-08 to 27-62. Skeletons forced out as the AQ just not quite in position and want to keep her alive, of course, as well. 90 seconds left. Lucas with the lead, but it does feel like this whole game's like on a weird tipping point.
Yeah, I wish Airsurfer would play the Monk directly on top of the Archer Queen just to force out the ability so that he's not wasting his ability prior to Lucas using his Archer Queen's ability. Ram Rider is going to end up connecting.
Wow.
What Lucas tried there was a body block with both the Valkyrie and the Giant Skeleton, but the Monk did knock the Valkyrie back, making room for the Ram Rider.
That was very cool.
Yeah. So, log here... Great snowball to make some room. That is very difficult for Airsurfer to deal with. NATO not necessary, but I can see why. That was a lot of pigs on the tower, and that Royal Ghost Splash on all 3 pigs was not a guarantee. I don't see the Dark Goblin come into play.
And there you go. Spears plus EQ getting the Dark Goblin off.
Yeah, I see Airsurfer super uncomfortable in this matchup. I'm not seeing the Ram Rider pick working out for him in any way. We're going to have to see some real magic from him to try and pull this one out.
Just such an interesting shift, right? You're building a minor deck. You have the ability to maybe put some defense in. I guess not wanting to give value to EQs necessarily was sort of the thought. And look at this. Royal Ghost going to get across here, but doesn't quite perfect timing on the ability out of Lucas. And the AQ does not get taken by the Royal Ghost. Takes off the Dark Goblin. Here we are. Sudden death overtime. Lucas with the lead. Airsurfer trying to find something he can do, but there's always that danger of this big pig push with, try saying that 10 times fast, big pig push, big pig push, big pig push, and what he ends up wanting to do about it.
Yeah, and look, you see the nuisance that the Goblin Hut is being for Airsurfer. Maybe going with a Barb Hut was, going to be even worse for Airsurfer to deal with. Just things to look at when the game is actually going on. I really want to see from Airsurfer to start cycling those Dark Goblins because there's no log to kill them. Yes, he's got the Archer Queen, but like we saw in the previous interaction, he's got to waste the ability to kind of take care of that, and then you can get back to another one to kind of create some pressure on in the other lane or in the same lane.
And you saw there the Dark Goblin could have gone opposite lane, but had to step into the pocket. Did help out, though, with the defense, but another huge push coming in the opposite direction. I see someone saying, why did he pick EQ? I think it was a pick to make buildings hard as a choice, since there weren't a lot of great building choices here, and to let those things build later.
Snowball wasted. Ram Rider barely doesn't connect. That was a very, very risky snowball.
Monk trying to win this bridge battle here. Dark Goblin. Miner goes right to the Archer Queen. And Archer Queen stays alive. Ability, yeah, as you're right, not going to happen. 20 seconds left, 1090 to 1766. Ram Rider has to find a way through for Airsurfer to have any chance. Miner gets on the tower. NATO pulls it all together. But what is NATO going to do here? Not going to do a whole lot. Dark Goblin trying to see if it can sneak behind these guards. Not going to happen. EQ working on the tower. Can Miner and Dark Goblin steal a bunch? No, not quite. And there you have it. It's Lucas holding on and getting a very nice win here against Airsurfer in game number 3.
Yeah, we said at the start of the best of 3 that Airsurfer was definitely going to give us some funky picks. I was excited to see that. But I just feel like that Ram Rider pick did not come at the right time. I feel like a better reply to the pigs could definitely change the outcome of that matchup. Well played from Lucas, though. He played that one very, very well. Always take advantage of the Goblin Huts. And every time that we said pig would be a nuisance here, we saw the pigs come down. So great job from Lucas there.
We'll go take a look at that replay in just a moment, but first let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket as it stands. You can see in round 2, Mohamed Light, after beating Adrian, Piedra will face off against Vitor, who took down his former teammate in Wallace. Lucas now moves on to round number 2 in the same vein, and let's go take a look now at the replay. And this is one of those early moments in the game. I'm trying to remember which one. I remember I pulled this one because I was really excited about something. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was very early. Oh, yes, I know exactly what this is. And it didn't end up working out in the long run for Airsurfer, but we're going to see this Monk Ram Rider push. And an interaction, you don't usually see Monk and Ram Rider together. Not a common, I haven't seen this much. And you see the body block just gets broken up. Look at that punch there by the Monk on the left-hand side. Let's go back, look at that one more time here. I just thought this was kind of a fascinating interaction, as the Monk takes care of the Archer Queen, then goes to the opposite side of the board here. And I think Ram Rider we mostly see with Golden Knight, but here you see the body block attempt with the Valk and the Giant Skeleton, and the Monk gets that punch, and the Ram Rider able to punch on through as well. So I just thought that was fascinating, and of course, let's go take a look at the ending moments of this game with just about 20-something seconds left, and it felt like this was the opportunity. You have one Dark Goblin down, Ram Rider in front. The Miner goes to the back, but that Goblin Hut able to stop the Ram Rider. And you see just Lucas trying to pour everything he can at the bridge. Now guards in front of the Dark Goblin, another Dark Goblin down, but just not quite able to break through here. And, you said it early on, Minnie, that Ram Rider pick, it just kind of felt like a pick of someone who was looking at the board and didn't quite know what they wanted to do with card number 8. Yeah,
I think it was precisely that. We could have seen a better reply. Let me try to pull the draft back up, because here we go. There was, even though Lucas had the EQ, he had the chance to go with the Goblin Cage or Bar Hub, just a building to distract the troops, but he opted to go with the Ram Rider, not working out.
So here we go. First pick in our opening game. We'll go to Pompeyo, courtesy of our random draw with the wheel. And my guess here, I'm going to shout out Aaron, Little Dog. I'm guessing that he's the one who planned this wheel out. But, you never know who was the one who made that pick. Also could have been Clint. Either way, nice wheel. Let's go ahead and get into the picks between Pompeyo and Sandbox.
Yep, looking at the cards on the table, Inferno Dragon is able to be reset by the Electro Dragon and Snowball and Zap as well, so I'm probably not going to see much of that in this one. But talk about Inferno Dragon, Electro Dragon has no lightning on the board and also no big spell to really take care of it, so if one of these guys wants to go with a really strong deck, it could definitely be an option. Sandbox opting to go with the Monk in response to, and Pompeyo going with Delivery in response to the musket. Actually, okay.
They have the cameras are reversed. Let me go ahead and tell production that they need to switch those cameras around. But yes, Pompeyo is on the bottom and Sandbox is on the top, despite the cameras being in the wrong spots here. So hopefully they can get those switched up for us in just a moment.
I don't mind. Pompeyo, I think, is a cute guy. So seeing him top right of my screen, I don't think it's a problem. I think you should just keep him there.
Fair enough. Handsome fellow with that check. You see the giant check from CCGS on the wall behind him. Of course, Pompeyo, longtime OG. I see Balloon on the board. but Pig's the pick instead for Pompeyo. Of course, if there's one thing you want to see is you want to see Pomp play Loon.
Yeah, and I think Sandbox went with that Musketeer. Actually, no, Pompeyo went with the first pick, Delivery. Interesting pick. To be completely frank with you, I'm not sure if Delivery was the best way to go, especially considering the lack of big spells. You know, Sandbox, I feel like, went a very smart route going with a Musketeer, seeing that there was nothing to really take it off on defense. And to complement that, he goes with the cannon cart that can take care of the troops from a faraway range. It'd be interesting to see if Pompeyo goes with a bowler to kind of take care of the royal recruits.
We'll certainly find out. Guards for the pick for Sandbox. Man, the cameras. The cameras are. I guess not look at the cameras here, even though they're despite all the handsomeness on the screen. Guards picked here for Sandbox, trying to figure out the next one for Pompeyo. Goes Electro Dragon. I guess maybe that'll help slow down a bit the piggies, and with no spell to really take it off.
I'm confused as to his take on the Electro Dragon. I'm also confused as to what he's going to pick for his win condition. Sandbox just seemed to have a very distinct upper hand in this pick. To be completely frank with you, he could even go with 3 Musketeers, because Pompeyo doesn't want to pick the bowler due to the monk. He does end up just completing the deck with an EQ. Pompeyo wrapping it up with a Ram Rider, and into the game.
And Ujwal, yes, correct. Same person. And here we go. So keeping a thoughts on this one, right? Ram Rider. I guess there's lots of DPS for the Ram Rider, but not great body blocks nor any building to control it.
Yep. Monk will probably be Monk in itself with the pushback of his three hits and the ability as well can also snare the Ram Rider too. So I see comfortable answers from Sandbox in response to that. What I want to see from Pompeyo is keep protecting both of those dragons and winning the game with one of those, making the difference on the offense. Because Sandbox has enough answers to be able to defend a Ram Rider and Dark Princes and Mighty Miners as long as he wants.
And Mighty Miner to the opposite direction. The minions will prevent most of that damage, maybe all of it. One little zzz from the Mighty Miner. And now Piggies. 2 do sneak on through as the cannon cart plays up high. Dark Prince nowhere near to stop that damage. And the first significant blood drawn as Sandbox takes that right-hand tower down to 25-34.
Yep, Pompeyo already in a damage disadvantage. He's probably going to try to come up with some creative abilities with that Mighty Miner as well. And just, like, for example, here, could go with an ability and then push out the lane, because not many people realize, but Monk completely hard counters the Mighty Miner. It can get the 3 shots in. As obviously, as soon as I say that, it just gets evaporated. But it gets 3 shots in without the Mighty Miner loading up with the high DPS on his drill.
Ram Rider does connect on the right-hand side. 25-20 now, the mark on that tower, as Sandbox now sets up in his back corner with the minions and the Electro Dragon, the double Dragon Dark Prince push. And the snowball from Pompeyo puts the Musketeer back just a little bit and ends up working out fairly well for him. Or no, I mean fairly well for Sandbox.
Yeah, maybe not the best placement on that, but I do like Pompeyo, like we talked about. He's coming up with some different ideas to try to break through. Here, Ram Rider is definitely going to be a great call. Monk out of cycle, no building and cycle. Zap is going to come down obviously to stop the charge. No zap and cycle either, wow.
And Snowball makes a bit more room. Ram Rider connects. Musketeer gets taken very, very low, courtesy of that sizzle. And as we go into sudden death overtime, Pompeyo starting to open up the lead, 2071 to 1664, as he goes up against the 2-time CRL World Finalists with back-to-back finishes in 12th and 6th.
Yeah, Sandbox doing a lot of work in a short amount of time. Let's see if he can get that work done in what's remaining of this match. 400 HP down, but definitely don't see it impossible for him to be breaking through in this one.
We haven't seen a ton of pigs, and it just kind of feels like that's the Dark Prince delivery and Snowball. Sandbox maybe not feeling like he has a great opportunity to get a breakthrough.
Well, this one is definitely going to be one of those chances. He's probably going to wait for the delivery to come down, and there we go. Opting to play it in the other lane, and EQ probably going to come down onto this cannon to make some more room. And the last minute Snowball to help clean these up, most likely. Yep.
Oh, a near King Tower activation with that pig doesn't quite turn. But now we are in triple elixir. Dual lane possibilities, but kind of going to die on the vine here. Electro Dragon won't do anything, won't do much on the left-hand lane, does not get a shot. Monk sets up left-hand lane into the strong side for Sandbox as the works on the weak side. Go ahead, Minnie.
Yeah, I wanted to say that Sandbox had to play pigs right there to avoid exactly this big push that Pompeyo's building. Is able to get the Ram Rider down, but he couldn't play the Royal Hogs because he wasted EQ on defense as well.
And guards do touch a little bit, but Electro Dragon snaps on the right-hand side. Pigs into the right-hand lane as well. Dark Prince plus Snowball plus Ram Rider should shut all that down. EQ trying to do something here. Zap to slow down the Ram Rider. 12 seconds left, and this is a lot on the board. Can Sandbox get a little bit more damage in on the right-hand side and also stop this Ram Rider? And look at that. The move with the Mega, with the Mighty Miner opens up the door as that Ram Rider slides on through for a nice GG, well played, and a really phenomenal game overall for Pompeyo.
Yeah, no, Pompeyo played that very well. I feel like playing double air troops in his main deck definitely helped him a lot in that game. I would have liked to see some more pressure with the pigs in single elixir from Sandbox. Yes, pigs plus EQ would have been a lot of elixir committed, but even if Pompeyo has to respond with the Dark Prince and the Snowball, that's still damage on the tower, and that's still only a Dark Prince coming back on the counter push that you can easily stop with a Monk, or even a Cannon Cart if you'd like. So.
Taking a look at some of the replay action here, and this is just those last 30 seconds where, look, they were pretty close here at the moment. That hit from the Electro Dragon was big, but this, you go pigs all in one lane, and the Ram Rider, Dark Prince, Snowball was a shutdown. Was there any value there potentially to going split lane in that situation?
Definitely. Like we saw Sandbox, as soon as he went split lane, it put Pompeyo into such an uncomfortable position, because it made him diversify his resources, and he couldn't focus them all into one lane like he was trying to do the whole game, and eventually that's what ended up winning Pompeyo the game.
And log first pick for Sandbox, and that makes things like Goblins, which are which are one of the more powerful cycle cards in the game now, no longer as great of an option for Pompeyo. Fire Spirit, and then Monk the picks for Pompeyo. So looking at the win conditions here, RG, 3M, Pigs, Battle Ram, of course. Now take a look at this. Let me think about this for a second, right? The building situation here isn't phenomenal. You have...
Exactly.
Right, Pump is banned, as a reminder to everybody here, because of the fact that Pump appears in your starting hand. Pump is not allowed for this competition. So that leaves you with the Barb Hut and the Goblin Hut. Is there anything here that takes advantage of that?
If you pick both of the huts, you can definitely take advantage of that. Because even if you play your Goblin Hut in the back of your weak tower, it's still going to have to get rocketed down, and it's still going to spawn at least minimum 6 Spear Goblins. What I did like from Sandbox is that he picked the log. Pompeyo being smart, picking both the Monk and the Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit, good for those Goblins that Sandbox is probably going to pick up later on in this draft. Taking advantage of the lack of buildings, we're probably going to see Royal Hogs from one of these players. Good pick from Pompeyo, so we won't be seeing Dark Goblin or Minion Horde from Sandbox. And if that is the case, we could see Pompeyo go with a Minion Horde himself, because when you take that out, there's only a Snowball to deal with that, and going with Snowball and Minion Horde would not be the craziest thing I've seen Pompeyo do.
And Cannon Cart, the 5th pick for Pompeyo. Sandbox does now pick up the Did pick up the Goblins, trying to figure out what that pick number 6 is going to be here, or pick number 5. Yeah, pick number 6 is going to be as he's awaiting the reply from his opponent.
Yep, Pompeyo picking up on the fact that there's no Musketeer or something super significant to take care of that baby dragon. Yes, the witch is there, but it's not going to provide all that much solutions. And Pompeyo also has the monk for this exact same reason. So very smart picking from him in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a tough spot for Sandbox. He goes with the piggy, so Sandbox will have final pick. But that baby dragon, as you mentioned, a real problem here. He could, I mean, could this? It seems like with Monk, it doesn't end up making that much sense. But 3M pigs,
He
and
did
now
it.
with the loot out from
He went with the minion horn.
Wow.
He went with the minion horn. That is, I mean, Snowball is still in effect, but it's not picked up by Sandbox. So
he has the NATO.
Good reply. Good reply with the Goblin Hunt, though. I like that.
Yeah.
Going to be able to kite the balloon towards the middle, and he's also got Tornado to activate King.
So Hut first play for Sandbox.
Yep. Fairly tame first play, but always a solid one because there's no Iki or anything like that to get it off the board.
And you know, we see this play. I want to ask you about this one a bit, Minnie, because we see a lot of these pros primarily playing Monk, that back tile outside of Princess Tower, as opposed to ever cycling. I almost never see any pros cycle Monk behind King Tower. And at a 5 elixir card that's kind of tanky, and also that 3 carded cycle, that seems like for a lot of people that might be the opportune play. Why are we seeing Monk primarily played kind of like just behind Princess as opposed to setting up full cycles?
These pigs are going to be a disaster to deal with, by the way.
Yeah.
But in that particular scenario, there were Spear Goblins coming down, so the Monk was kind of a tank, and those Goblins are a nightmare to deal with as well. No Fire Spirit and cycle.
Oh boy.
That's going to be tower down.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Pompeyo just committed a lot because his deck is not heavy in the slightest. So he has to spend maybe more than he would like in response to that Giant Skeleton Wood combo. And we did mention before the draft that the Monk was going to be good for the Witch, but Pompeyo activated that when he had a Monk and Baby Dragon going down the lane. So let the Witch survive. Sandbox being smart, capitalizing on it, knowing that there's nothing really to take care of both of those. There's no Valkyrie, you know? So great job from him there. And in terms of Monk, in that particular situation, we did mention the Spear Goblins, but also it's just kind of good to have it in case you need to use a spell on what's at the bridge.
Yeah,
or like
sure.
not a spell, the ability. I'm sorry.
Sure, well, that's one of those. I mean, the Monk obviously, like when it's being countered, but it's I was more bringing. Oh, look at this, just like full send, trying to find some way to push that loon past the Goblin Hut. NATO pulls all of that back. But Pompeyo, maybe recognizing how low his opponent is, trying to sell out all the way. The mini P.E.K.K.A can't do anything because of the Witch, and just stuck between a rock and a hard place is Pompeyo. Well, the thought really was more just that it's not even just in that situation. Just it feels like people in general don't cycle Monk behind King Tower at this level.
A lot of the times that can be because Archer Queen is so common in meta, and if you play your Monk in the back one lane, which is the exact perfect counter that you need for an Archer Queen the other lane can punish that perfectly, you know, as opposed to playing your Monk when you see it, which is when you see the Archer Queen, which is the best response. Playing in front and avoiding a Monk in the back to get punished is typically what pros try to avoid.
Hey, if you haven't, by the way, I know that a great way, maybe you do support a creator right now. If you haven't supported a creator, go ahead and use a creator code. And if you want to use mine, code RICH, you can use that in the shop for anything you do. I'll go ahead and throw that one more time. Use code RICH in the shop. That'd be really nice, just RICH. And if you don't use my code, use someone's code. It's a great way to support a creator and help us continue bringing you great content just like this one. Let me go ahead and queue up a little replay from what we just saw here. Give me one moment. My replay system at home is very rudimentary, It's I have a scene where there's a video, and then I go and select a video from my files, and let's go ahead take a look. You know what? Actually, we'll save this replay for later because we are actually into our next draft round. Let's do it.
Yep. Right off the bat, Pompeyo going with the Archer Queen. Obviously, this isn't as polarizing as an Archer Queen pick as in previous ones because Monk is in hand, and Sandbox opted to go with RG and Fisherman. Interesting to see Sandbox picking so quickly. The only benefit to that is giving Pompeyo less time to think about his future picks, but it really helps when you're sure about what you're going to pick. So Sandbox probably leaning towards can't be Royal Giant, but it also can. If he picks Sparky and Royal Giant, that is absolutely bizarre.
Brighter saying pro cycle the Monk behind Princess Towers to block spell cycling like rockets or fireballs. I feel like I don't see it very often, but you know,
not
you can't,
particularly.
Yeah. And this is feeling more and more like RG for Sandbox, but as you were saying, he could go RG or he could go Sparky here, which Sparky would be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I wouldn't expect Sandbox to be going with RG is because Sparky is able to be picked up by Pompeyo, and there's only a zap to pick that. It is interesting because there are so many throwing troops on the board. Sandbox being super smart with those picks. I really love the Firecracker and then the arrows. He could even go with Princess as well. That is a combo that I personally had some success with in drafts when your opponent doesn't have anything to deal with it.
Firecracker, super annoying to get to here with arrows being for Sandbox, and he goes pigs. Pompeyo.
Yeah, very solid pick. Yeah, Valkyrie is definitely going to come down from Pompeyo, but Sandbox with a Fisherman, kind of really going to be getting a big benefit from this. He's not going to go
Lumberjack, maybe thinking that Tombstone, despite the EQ, Hunter Lumberjack will be sufficient. Maybe he goes Snowball here, double small spell, or goes with the delivery. Those are two other options that maybe he could opt into. And RG for Pompeyo instead.
Yeah, I'm not liking this draft from Pomp strictly because Sandbox is the one who should have Royal Giant. And honestly, mostly because of Fisher. Royal Giant revolves so much around getting that quick activation or easy activation with Fisher. Fisher is obviously going to be able to pull the Royal Giant away, even switch it late if it plays properly. Sandbox's deck seems super well-rounded. The only good thing that Pompeyo's got going for him is that there's nothing to completely shut down the Archer Queen. And Sandbox is going no heroes as well. That's interesting to point out.
Really interesting choice here. I have rarely seen that here in draft mode. You rarely see it in Clash Royale overall anymore. You occasionally see it in duels, especially in Game 1, just to maybe open up some possibilities in Games 2 and 3, but doing it here in duels, very interesting. And the Mega Minion, of course, that final pick here. Maybe a little more DPS. Hunter High, though, could be a problem.
Reason why I think Sandbox went with that Mega Minion is particularly because Hunter High, it's still going to take like 3 shots minimum to take care of that Mega Minion, unless they're like, you know, the Mega Minion gets pushed over the bridge or like travels over the woods, or the Hunter gets pushed towards that side. Good Snowball and Log to take care of the Firecracker. Tombstone is going to do a good job of sustaining here, even though an EQ is going to come down. Let's see, he's probably going to put... Yeah, great response from Pop here.
And the Hunter does not walk into the Death Bomb, so now just doubling down left-hand lane is Pompeyo.
Oof.
Hunter gets pulled, but does the Fish Boy stays alive, and that did not do what Pompeyo wanted.
I mean, let me tell you something. Easy to overlook that, but if that Hunter didn't get that shot on the Fisherman would have been sufficient to counter the Hunter and the Lumberjack on its own. And that would have left the door super wide open for Pigs as soon as Sandbox had 5 extra, which would have been super troublesome because Pompeyo did not have Tombstone, he did not have Hunter, and he did not have Lumberjack. He would have had to waste an Archer Queen.
So the ball bounced the right way for Pompeyo, at least in that regard.
Definitely. I mean, we've established already that Sandbox has a super solid deck, and Pompeyo, I feel like definitely surviving to double elixir as he needs to do to attempt to win this one.
And EQ in. Does get a little chip damage. Here we go. Royal Giant left hand lane. Archer Queen fairly healthy behind. Hunter as well. Ice Spirit just to slow down this DPS a little bit. Snowball does a great job of moving that Mega Minion over towards the Hunter. Damage in 24-38. Pompeyo taking the lead with 20 seconds left in regulation.
Beautiful. And going in right again, recognizing that Sandbox overcommitted on that push and that he can capitalize on the next push. And this is still going to get at least one shot, if not two.
And that's some big shots here. Now 3-1 split. Pigs go right. Tombstone high. Brawler. Bullet distract enough. Piggies get nothing courtesy of that Ice Spirit. And while the Firecracker does connect overall, that was some brilliant defense for the Loon Master.
100%. You saw there Pompeyo placing the Tombstone in a very unexpected position, and that prevented Sandbox from getting a prediction EQ, which is the reason that Pompeyo was able to defend that so comfortably. Very heads-up play from him. And Pompeyo is playing some very nice Clash Royale right now.
And here we go. Giant Skeleton left-hand lane. Fisherman behind. 80 seconds left. Lumberjack setting up very, very low. Will move in front of the Archer Queen. The Tombstone played maybe... I mean, I understand the reasoning here, but now we go Pig's right-hand lane, Snowball plus Hunter, no, Log plus Hunter, Snowball high. Firecracker does get a little bit of chip here.
I think...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, just still a little slight elixir advantage for Pompeyo, and again, he's putting together some brilliant defenses here, and this is kind of harkening back to why for a long time Snowball Log was such a popular combination before some nerfs.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned you saw the idea of the Tombstone, and it can be argued that wait, he needs that for defense for the Pigs, but he was so ready for that Pigs in the other lane, and even the Firecracker. That Snowball came down super quick that it was already hovered over the Firecracker, because initially from Sandbox, he's looking to take advantage of the wasted Tombstone.
Oh, and the Tombstone does not get hit by the EQ. Doesn't matter, though. Pigs and Giant Skeleton left-hand lane. This could be an absolute game changer. Giant Skeleton, is that in range? Pigs behind. Giant Skeleton on the tower. Pompeyo can't believe it. And in the last seconds, what was tremendous defense from Pompeyo the whole way through crumbles in the final moments, and Sandbox steals this one in game number 3.
Wow. That's exactly what I want to see from Pompeyo. That is textbook RG gameplay. Beautiful, beautiful defenses. For a lot of you, if you're looking and like you're asking yourself, how do I get better at the game? Blah, blah, how do I improve? Pompeyo was ready with every single defense in every moment. If he wasted his Tombstone, he was ready with the Hunter Log Snowball. And you saw at one point after that defense, the next one, there was a Giant Skeleton, and then there were Pigs, there was a Mega Man, and then EQ going down the lane for Sandbox. And Pompeyo defended that easily as well with the Hunter Log and Snowball. So incredible ingenuity on defense, unfortunately just not enough offensive firepower to break through.
And you can see here the replay. This is one of the earlier replays of just the brilliant defense that we saw from Pompeyo throughout this one. The Tombstone high, the Piggies getting taken care of here, and it was over and over again the same story. Just Pompeyo played 4.5 minutes of just really phenomenal, really brilliant defense, but many, as you know, along with everybody else, 4.5 minutes is not enough because you got to play for that full 5, and here we go to the final 30 seconds. And the RG getting some good damage. Pompeyo certainly ahead, 15-17 to 1997, but these pigs come down. The tombstone doesn't get hit by the EQ, but does get taken off by the arrows plus piggies, and as that giant skeleton just gets tanked for, the fish boy with the brilliant pull, and as soon as that happened, Pompeyo knew it was all over. GG, well played, and now we move on to our next matchup between Ruben and KK. Sandbox, of course, will be facing off against Lucas in round number 2.
Yeah, I think you pointed out in a great way, 4.5 minutes of perfect defense. That last defense, it got tripped up, and it was just unfortunate to see. First, the Archer Queen got pulled by the Fisherman, even though it popped the ability. Then the Tombstone came down before the Lumberjack, and the Lumberjack was pulled towards the Fisherman instead of the Fisherman coming to the Tombstone. Then the Hunter had to overcommit on one pig, and it just fell apart in the last 30 seconds from Pomp, who played a beautiful game of Clash Royale in an uphill battle. Unfortunately, just couldn't do it enough.
Couldn't do it, and Ruben getting the first pick here in our matchup. And here we go, Ruben versus KK, and you talk about players who are just really, really fun overall. Both these guys, of course, are a blast to watch. KK is one of the most fun personalities out of Japan. At World Finals this year, I spent an afternoon walking around with, let's see, I think it was KK,
Mugi and Pandora.
And Pandora. KK, Mugi, and Pandora, yeah. And I asked them after we were walking around for a while, we were doing Google Translate back and forth because I don't have any Japanese and I don't have any English. And Mugi and Pandora, both, when I asked them who was going to win the whole thing, they both said Mo. And KK just laughed and said me. And, of course, KK did have a fun run at World Finals, including a really nice win over Mohamed Light. But I just loved everyone else, another one, everyone else during their what would you do with the money talked about, I'd save it, I'd pay for school. And he said, I'd get a fast car, vroom, vroom. And I cracked up. He's a really fun guy to watch and a good part of the community.
That's a really fun story. And I mean, I know we're getting away from drafting a little bit, but looking at KK in that World Finals performance, him saying and believing in himself that he was going to win that, and seeing how locked in he was that first day at World Finals. Unfortunate the final result, but he was a force to be reckoned with at that World Finals.
Yeah, he's always a joy to have there. And then, of course, Ruben, former world champion, who I think people kind of forget that Ruben is still a really highly skilled player. Of course, his foot's not quite on the gas to the same degree that it was in the past, but sometimes people act like Ruben, like people almost forget that there was a time period of about 18 months where he was, without question, the best player on the planet.
100%. Getting back into the drafting, Ruben going with Zappy's first pick. Interesting. Not too many comfort picks at the start, even though he could have gone with a log or the fire spirit. KK opting to go with a flying machine, feeling confident that there's not enough offensive firepower like the fireball to take it off on defense. So we will be seeing some great value out of that and that cannon cart because Ruben doesn't have a lightning. Ruben looking to finish this off with Graveyard, KK opting to go with a Ram Rider. He does have freeze, so that will definitely be interesting to see. Even with the Golden Knight chain on those Zappies, a log and a freeze could be trouble. And I was going to say that the bats, if they're not picked up, they're going to be such a problem because there's not even a snowball in the deck. So great last pick from KK, just probably knowing that Ruben's going to go with the Lava Hound.
Wow.
Okay. That is the byproduct of picking bats.
Yeah, he was showing Graveyard for so long, and then you're like, oh, I have to poison it every time I play Graveyard. But now we go to the other side of things, right? And that's an interesting question because, yes, bats are good against Lava Hound, but a little bit less when you have the minions behind that lava.
Yeah, 100%. If anything, the minions are probably the turning point that made Ruben pick Lava Hound. He's like, okay, I can support this. Because he doesn't have like a baby dragon or anything like that. Yes, he has the spirit, and spirit minions is probably going to be his comfort to try to deal with those minions behind the Lava Hound while the Flying Machine starts shooting at the Lava Hound. And we also have the Rammer that can get KK out of some tricky situations. But yeah, picking those bats last pick from KK was exactly what compelled Ruben to go with that Lava Hound. He just felt that Cannon Cart, Flying Machine, and bats on top of that were just going to be too difficult to play against.
And Zappy's going to get a lot of value here in this Ram Rider matchup. Very interesting, especially given the pick order here. And you see the Poison trying to maybe work on getting that Cannon Cart down, and Barb Barrel will go ahead and make sure it stays on the opposite side of the board.
Yep, good control from Ruben with that Barb Barrel. And yeah, KK opts to go with the Ram Rider after zing that Zappies, particularly because we're going to see some Golden Knight dash onto those Zappies. And then the tower later on to the game. Zappies, Golden Knight is Zappies Kryptonite. Zappies don't get completely outmatched by many cards at its same elixir cost. If you have a Valkyrie that you can drop on top, that when it crosses, you'll get great value with the Valkyrie. But the Golden Knight makes you think before playing your Zappies on defense.
And does interesting dash there from KK. He was up an elixir, I guess, and would be content with the Cannon Cart behind, but I guess getting that one Zappy off from behind the Skeleton King might have been valuable enough. Here we go, Ram Rider with bats. Zappy's played low, and look at the freeze. Look at the freeze from KK. And no Golden Knight to help, and immediately Ruben, recognizing the elixir play, drops that Lava Hound.
Great timing on the Skeleton King to collect the maximum amount of souls possible for this offensive attack. Poison, great job. He's going to attempt to get back to another one, I think. Bats are going to end up getting a lot of value here on defense, so not going to be the worst attack for kick and defend, but definitely a great call from Ruben, like you said, going in with that Lava Hound after recognizing the overcommitment from Ruben. From KK, I'm sorry.
And there you go, Ruben playing the Poison because those pups will keep the Flying Machine stuck over there, so a little extra chip with the Poison. Here we go, sudden death overtime, and Ruben lavas one more time.
Yep, very smart play there from KK, expecting Zappies to come down instantly for the Ram Rider. The only thing I disliked about that is that the Tombstone was still up, so maybe not the exact opportune time to go in with that attack. What am I saying? Jesus Christ, taking the tower down to the exact same amount that is on the right lane. Great heads up freeze here as well from KK to defend. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
the high defensive freeze. Poison does get the Flying Machine off. Zappy's going to go crazy on that Ram Rider. KK down to nothing. KK no elixir to stop this, and Ruben takes that tower on the right-hand side. GG, well played. KK was thirsty for elixir, but found himself in an absolute desert.
Yeah, we saw that flashy play from KK with the Golden Knight Ram Rider. Like we said, that Tombstone made KK commit with that freeze, and while that got him a great amount of damage, that left him wide open for Ruben to capitalize on that.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the action from this one as we jump right on over to, I believe this was one of the, oh yeah, there you go. So the Golden Knight takes care of the Zappy in the back, and I'm trying to remember which play. You know, I'm grabbing replays. I'm trying to remember which replays I'm grabbing as we go along. But I can't remember. Oh yeah, this was the a nice Ram Rider connection with the freeze. There we go. This was the nice Ram Rider freeze connection. But you see how low KK goes on elixir here, and Ruben recognizing that, and that's when the momentum began to move in the direction of Ruben as he recognized how low the elixir was on that one. And then here we go into the final moments. Ram Rider connects on the left-hand side. Golden Knight connects. Lots of damage. But then take a look at the right-hand side. You have the Zappies played high, the freeze, but the minions come right behind it, and the Poison. And here we go as the Ram Rider tries to control all of this, well, going way too far down as the Zappies are still alive and able to DPS that down. So the freeze kind of twice in this game overall, Mini. The freeze kind of coming back and punishing KK in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I feel like he used them both at times where it was optimal, but maybe not the best, because with the freeze, like we're saying, it's an overcommitment, and KK didn't exactly have a deck like he had Archer Queen where he could pop the ability and cleaned up the counter push. He had to give a response or freeze on offense to be able to take care of that defensive Skeleton King. And when you waste that much elixir, your opponent's going to waste the exact amount of elixir on the counter push. So just too much for KK to deal with in the end.
Well, that's why Ram Rider Freeze has never really been a deck. It's because the overall the long-term punish doesn't quite justify the damage, obviously, and then of course we saw the problem there in the bridge play. Here we go. KK now having first pick, having lost game number 1, and takes Zappies again. First pick, I guess, maybe seen once more. Fireball not in play. Ruben picking poison this time.
Yep, interesting that both players got Zappies at the start. In the first game, there was Golden Knight, so that was an adequate response to them. In this one, there's no Fireball, no Golden Knight, so maybe we'll see Zappies be a little bit more impactful on the matchup. I also see a Sparky that KK could grab that would definitely put Ruben in some awkward positions. Monk grabbed from Ruben to reflect the defense. Go ahead.
Well, Ruben known for playing lots of Hog, lots of Loon, lots of RG, so we see him going Hog here in game number 2 with the advantage. And interesting Hog pick when you don't have EQ behind it and NATO is still available. Oh, KK picking Pump. Oh, boy. Let me go ahead and see what's up with that, because that is supposed to be banned. I wonder if they communicated the rules effectively. There is certainly is a language barrier.
There is a language barrier, yeah.
And I guess they're gonna. This is that's gonna be an automatic win for Ruben here. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate.
I mean, unfortunate. Definitely the way I would describe it. Rules are rules, and I mean we know they've been established. KK may not be aware of that.
Maybe he just, again, it's maybe not seeing all the rules, maybe joining the tournament late, not reading the rules correctly. Very unfortunate, everybody. Pump, the reason why Pump is banned from this competition, folks, is because Pump can appear in your starting hand, which it cannot normally do in the game. Something about how they wrote the game mode allows Pump in your starting hand. So it was the one card that was banned from competition. And unfortunately, KK maybe not picking up that information. So here we go. We're going to watch this game. It's still going to be a fun game for us to watch. But this is going to be an automatic win for Ruben.
I do like the fact that they're playing it out just in case KK wins. Like, we don't know if it wasn't communicated to him in Japanese, which would make him, not really responsible for the mistake. So maybe if they play it out and Ruben is like, that's okay, keep going. I don't know. But I'm just glad that they're playing it out right now instead of an auto loss. Going back to the draft, though, Hog and Miner picked up from Ruben. NATO going to be super optimal to clean both of those up in any defense. Furnace is probably going to be a super, super good control. Hog Rider is going to take it down every time, but then again, the Hog Rider won't be able to get too much value once it does that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the really devastating thing about this one, too, is that it felt like with both Furnace, Zappies, and NATO, KK pretty much had the Hog Rider shut down. So just a really unfortunate pick there for him. I see someone criticizing the rules in the chat. Hey, the Pump was in the game mode when they designed the game mode, but the things that were built inside of normal Clash Royale that ban it from starting hand, they didn't make it into the game mode for whatever reason. And over 4 weeks of game testing by doing tournaments on this channel, we'd figured out that Pump was a problem for that reason. So we chose to, the league organizers chose to ban Pump from competition. And for whatever reason, KK didn't see or read or understand the rule, whatever it might be. Maybe he forgot the rule, who knows? So I'll let league operations handle that. It's not my job. My job is just to commentate, but I wanted to give you guys some context here as to why the rule was created in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, back and forth between these two as of right now. Great responses from Keika to deal with that Hog and the Miner, not being able to give them too much value, and the lack of a Valkyrie from Ruben makes the drill get a great amount of value every time that it's played. Fire Spirit going to hop on to the tower and the Monk as well. Ability pop, but taken down from the Monk ability.
Now here's the thing: is if Ruben just wins anyway, which would be certainly be a challenge. Although you see that NATO not quite getting it done. If Ruben wins anyway, then it's a moot point, and all this conversation about the pump isn't a problem anyway.
Yeah, I mean, didn't appear in KK starting hand that one, so not really too polarizing. But yeah, I mean, it's just fortunate. Like you said, KK has the answers for Ruben's deck, so.
Well, let's see. Here we go. We do have about 70 seconds left. Ruben with a slightly behind. So we'll see if Ruben can pull out the win anyway and kind of make that whole conversation a wash. Miner goes to the pump. Vault does get the pickup.
Queen coming down in the opposite lane where there is no Monk to take it off the board quickly.
And Rascals split heavy to the left.
Monk ability probably going to be popped to get some more damage on tower zappies, prevent that from happening.
Ruben needs a deal and goes with the cage high on the left-hand side to deal with the queen. Poison going to get a lot of value here against these zappies and tower. Goblins do get a couple of stabs. Hog behind a very big push.
Oh no!
And Miner goes to tower. Hog going to get on tower anyway. And that's a ton of damage in just like that. 13 seconds left. Poison down. So pump rule or no pump rule, Ruben able to overcome. And can these Goblins steal the game back? No, they won't. So either way, even the rule ended up not being an issue. Ruben gets the win and gets the overall victory. GG, well played. All that conversation for nothing.
Well, I mean, KK missed that last NATO on the Hog Rider, which, and I'm also interested to hear like what the ruling would have been. But he did end up missing that last tornado on the Hog Rider. When I saw that Hog Rider and Miner combo come down at the same time from KK from Ruben to try to get damage, I would have loved to see a Miner right next to the Hog to prevent the NATO from actually pulling the Hog.
That would have been a solid play, and you can see here Ruben moving on. He'll face the winner of Surgical Goblin and Suze, our only open qualifier player. And just to be clear, they did clarify the rule set. There was a special announcement in the Discord for the game, for this competition, that clarified all those rules. That gave us all of our very specific rules. So it was clarified. It's on the players to make sure they always read the entire rule book and all announcements for a competition. Either way, Ruben still won, so he goes through even if it hadn't been for the pump situation, and he'll go ahead and play against either another former world champion in Surgical Goblin and kind of a rival in CRL West during 2019 and 2020, especially 2019 in particular. Or we'll go ahead and see a potential of our open qualifier player in, I don't know if it's Suze or Suz, but the player who won the open tournament on Friday to make it here for this competition. So it'll be, either way, it'll be a whole lot of fun to see the one non-invited pro have a shot against a guy who's considered one of the greats, if not the greatest of all time.
Yeah, like we were saying, if Surgical does end up winning this one, he does get to play against Ruben. And for those of you that don't know, Ruben's come up was basically like Mohamed Light's come up against him, just kind of like a passing of the torch. Surgical Goblin in the GOAT conversation for the game. Ruben then came up to do that, and now Mo's done that, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how Suz plays this one. Interesting to see the draft picks, because we don't know how used to this game mode he is. Obviously, the other players have had some time to prep, get used to the game mode, but he qualified not like 22 days ago, right?
Yeah, just I think it was on Friday, but I could be wrong. just want to say I hope someone took Charlie Perkins' $100,000 bet. Let me go ahead and put it back on there again. I hope someone took his $100,000 bet that it was going to be the gray or white again, as it wasn't. So hopefully one of you guys just won $100,000. Otherwise, very lucky there for you there, Charlie. As I thought we were going to go right into picking. No, we don't. Hey, guys, we are at 89,990 subs. We are 10 subs away from getting to 90K and on that road to 100,000, which would be phenomenal. So if there's 10 of you, I know there's about 1,700 of you watching right now. If 10 of you who aren't subs yet want to sub and join the party, I'd super duper appreciate it. And here we go into our picking. Surgical Goblin. You know, I think I have almost that same hat on my shelf. Surgical Goblin wearing my grandfather's hat for this matchup. And go ahead.
I was going to comment on the draft, but Surge is looking super fresh in that hat. He looks like, I don't know, it looks like he's moved up from Clash Royale, like, you know, maybe considered modeling. But
very
back
possible.
to the very possible. Back to the draft. Suz going with Cannon Cart first. Surgical responding with the Archer Queen and Lightning to take care of that Cannon Cart. No log, so we do see Rascals being picked up from Suz and Guards as well due to lack of arrows delivery. The only spell that can really kind of counter those two cards picked up. I see an option for Suz to go with Bait here. No Rocket though, so definitely a risky play, but because of the lack of small spells, because of the lack of a log, to be quite frank, there's a Bar Barrel, there's a Zap. Could be a play. Mighty Miner definitely leaves the door open for that. Surgical Goblin with his deck, there's no RG on the board to pick from. Won't be seeing Graveyard with Lightning, I don't think. Could be a giant beatdown deck if he likes, but because of that Mighty Miner pick, I would be against that. Maybe we'll see Hog Lightning, or would be the most normal pick out of the win conditions so far.
And this will be interesting to see because, of course, Surgical Goblin has tons of on-camera and live experience, really comfortable playing in those situations. Suz, face reveal, right? First time, as far as I'm aware, ever playing on camera, unless he's played in some Japanese competitions that do have camera play. But you know, this is international. This is worldwide. So we'll see. And he does look, you know, it's kind of some interesting body language here. We'll find out if those nerves get in the way of his gameplay at all.
Yeah, definitely the biggest stage that I think he's been in so far. So, yeah, he does handle that pressure against a true veteran of the game. Both players holding off from picking a win condition just yet. Maybe trying to surprise, maybe still thinking as to what to build with, because the cards that they've picked and the win conditions that are available make it really difficult to come up with a decision.
And I see in the chat here, Runaway saying, liking Suz's draft, no arrows to stop all that bait. Yeah, no arrows, no log. The delivery is is maybe what will happen on that side, but the Rascals and the Guards both going to get a lot of value here potentially.
Yeah, Sus probably going to go with a Goblin Barrel, and Surge does end up going with the Hog Rider. Makes sense with the Lightning. Kind of a heavy combo, but you could definitely get it down. Although Suz did take that Tesla, so it kind of negates I like that pick from him, kind of expecting maybe a Hog Rider to place the Tesla outside of the Lightning range.
And there we go. Does pick the Goblin Barrel last. So we have an interesting bait variation on one side and Hog AQ Lightning on the other side here for Surgical Goblin.
Cannon back from Sus in response to the cage. For Dragon will clean this up nicely.
And Rascals just setting up on the right-hand side. We don't see a lot of Ice Golem, and I'm going to call this out again. And I'm going to do it every time I see Ice Golem on stream from now on. Supercell. Guys, where's the Ice Golem plushie? Ice Golem plushie seems like the most sensible, direct, like, it's right there. You know what I mean? It's right there. Everybody, at all the CMs, at Max, at Drew, Ice Golem plushie. We need it.
I'm all for it. I think you're right. I think he's just so like fluffy, you know.
He's just a little guy. He's a little guy, you know. Look at that little guy.
Yeah. I think that Stuz so far has been playing this super calm. That he's gonna be that hit is gonna be in his head for at least the next 30 seconds. But there's so much room to out. Wow, I love that play. Oh my god. Wow, I love that play. Hold on, this is tower.
This is a whole the can the Ice Golem do much? No, Surge calling good game, doesn't have anything light enough to hold on, and Suz just completely shreds the right hand side. Tesla will take care of the hog, and that's absolutely huge for the newbie here, who's coming in and getting a big tower off of a former world champion.
That was like, I'm super surprised just because I didn't expect him to do that, because we're like, how's he gonna deal with nerves, all blah 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 blah. But he made a play that pros would make against Surgical Goblin, showing that he's not nervous, knowing that his head is in the game, it's where it's supposed to be, and he took advantage of the lack of a bar build from Surge to just predict that Surge was going to overcommit, and then he also expected that Inferno Dragon, so he tanked with the Rascal Boy, took that Inferno Dragon off of the field, and then guards on top of that when there's no other spell, there's nothing from Surge to clean up. I thought the game was going to go down more by the line, okay, it's going to be easy for him to outcycle the Goblin Barrel, and that's going to be very problematic because there's no Goblins or troops to distract, but he used the Goblin Barrel to waste the delivery and just go all in on one lane.
I can't get this. I was trying to get this hat. That's why I switched late. I was trying to get this hat to actually like sit on my head with this headphones on. But either way, I don't know. I think that who's drippier right now, Surgical Goblin or Rich Slayton, despite the hat not fitting correctly. I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. You see what I did there? You see? All right, there we go. So pretty good spot here for Suz. Let's go ahead and jump back into our draft.
Initially, Musketeer looks like a decent first pick. Due to the lack of a fireball, Surge does end up going with Golden Knight, seeing all the Soren troops on the board, thinking he can get good safe first play, thinking they get some future value out of it. Suz thinking real hard about this one. Ends up going with a Valkyrie. Great count of the Golden
You're
Knight.
about a second ahead of me here.
All right.
I have 12 seconds, 11, 10, 9,
9,
8, 7,
okay.
6. There we go. And thank you, Anvesh, for a gentle reminder to use Code Rich for the upcoming season. I rarely, really push Code Rich. I don't push it really hard. I know there's a lot of content creators out there. You have lots of choices of who to use a code for. But if you're watching right now, there's a new season fairly soon. Go ahead and throw Code Rich in there. It would be really phenomenal to support. I do have my Slayton Jr. number 2 is expected to be born this upcoming Friday. So, a little support, little love from anybody who's out there with the code would be really, really a wonderful gesture.
I'm all for it. I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna buy $10,000 worth of gems with Code Rich.
Let's go.
All right, let's see. I like the picks from both. Surge did go with that double pick slot that he had with the flying machine and the poison. Good response from Suz with the Musketeer. Surge playing it kind of calm now, just playing some filler troops, if you speak, but filler troops that kind of go with your deck, like Skeleton Cycle, Archers, can't go wrong right now. From Suz, I was going to say Minor Control looks like it would go well with this deck, but he doesn't have a big spell to complement it, But with these Wall Breakers, definitely opens the door for a Minor, because he's already got the Snowball and Barbell. From Surge, he can can't really be balloon. There's a great amount of defenses for that. Recruits are on board, and I do think that that is a great way to go.
Surge picking up the mini P.E.K.K.A. Suz kind of taking a little interesting thought like you saw him kind of tilt his head there. And that's why cams are so fun, including that we can see that Surgical Goblin took his hat off, maybe hearing about how great I looked in my version of the hat. Didn't want to compete with me anymore. But I love seeing the little ticks, the little kind of expressions. Some of the players, of course, very expressive, some with a stronger poker face. And final pick, Skeleton King here. So this is interesting because the breaking through, obviously having Snowball and Bar Barrel for his side is going to make it harder for Surgical Goblin to
wins the game. Yep, there we
nice
go.
miner for Surge. I guess with if you throw Wallbreaker's Snowball, it just feels like breaking through might be a bit of a challenge here and there.
Yeah, 100%. If I was Suz, I would have gone with Miner. Specifically because, like you heard me say, Miner wins the game there for sure. He's already got the poison. He's got a building. He's got great support cards. Not only does he have great support cards, but the flying machine is unkillable on defense. And the archers as well. Snowball's not going to get rid of them. And it's not like he's got a Miner to come down with a Snowball to really get them off the field. So this is going to be a super difficult game for Suz.
Archers both in the same lane here for Surgical Goblin. Snowball will help out a little bit. Is Cage and Cycle for Surge? No, and he eats both of those shots on the right-hand side. A little nod from Suz on that one.
Yeah, that is definitely what he's looking for so far. Unfortunate there with the Golden Knight for Surge.
And yeah, this is just it's interesting. Like, I think that you kind of sit on the cage. I understand you're trying to find a good way to counter that Skeleton King. But now the two best wall breakers counters, the cage and the skeletons both out. That wall breaker won't connect, but forces out some decent elixir.
Yeah, that Suz had the right idea there to capitalize on the lack of the Goblin cage, but that Barbell was just too much. It makes him meet this Golden Knight damage on the right. And not being able to get to the tower himself, you want to prevent as much damage as possible. Not only did he let that happen, but he's also going to let Surgical switch lanes and play defense onto the lane that Suz has already gotten damage on. Switching lanes for Suz would not be the worst idea, just because you can do it so cheaply with some wall breakers. If he does that, that is going to be the best route for him to go, because you don't want Surge building up with all his troops and then putting a miner on top of your tower.
Double elixir flowing now, and the score 2038 to 22-10 between our newcomer and Surgical Goblin. And that Tesla doing a pretty good job there. The flying machine stops just outside of Tesla range, but does get taken care of a little bit later. And now Musketeer trying to open up some opportunities. Snowball looking to predict skeletons maybe. Doesn't get it done, and flying machine shuts down both lanes.
Yeah, he can't protect the Musketeer. Didn't have a Valkyrie to really drop on top of it. I do like the high Tesla out of poison range, and it's going to force out protection from the flying machine, and due to the fact that the Golden Knight was also going to get hit by the Tesla if he placed it. Maybe not the best idea, so good defense there from Suz. Looks like he is open to the idea of switching lanes, so that's good. Guard's probably going to come down on the miner. And yeah, great job there from Surge from holding off on the ability, and great Tesla once again from Suz.
Now Musketeer will go get the flying machine. Wallbreaker's behind the Muskie. Poison to shut down this push before it can really do much of anything at all. 29-40, 18-64. You see Suz not liking that. Playing really early in the morning. I think I saw someone say it's somewhere between midnight and 5 a.m. Over in Japan right now. Not sure exactly what the time is. I didn't check it myself, but I'm just going to rely on chat and say between midnight and 5 a.m. So late night gameplay here from Suz as he goes into the final 70 seconds. And a big wall breaker connection. You see a nod from him there. Happy with that one.
Yeah, that's the second time in this matchup that Surge has messed up the placement to defend the wall breakers. You always want to defend the first wall breakers first. And this time, one of the 2 troops that he's dropped, like the archers, have gone to the back wall breakers. And okay, great snowball from Suz, better ability from Surge.
Yeah, great ability from Surge. Musketeer outside of the poison. This is really good for him. Miner goes right to the Muskie plus archers to support, and Suz not liking that at all. Emotes both with his face and with the actual emotes. 30 seconds left. I think he knows this game's starting to slip away here. And it was the big question of how do you get on tower with this deck? And we saw the answer. It was primarily when Surge made little mistakes as opposed to really being able to find opportunities for himself.
Yeah, the reason that Surge has that damage on his tower is because of the mistakes he made. Suz just didn't have a deck where he could win the game. He couldn't get his tower.
And there you go. GG, well played. We are all tied up going to game number 3. And Suz might be feeling the pressure here a little bit as we go into that third and final. Suz, of course, from Japan. Personal best on Legacy Ladder, his old ladder trophies, PB of 84.57. So, you know, anytime you get into that mid to high 8Ks, you're certainly playing at a pretty high level. Best ladder finish overall, top 20, I believe, was his best ladder finish. So, you know, multiple top 100, 20th. You know, once you hit that, you're starting to get into some pretty thin air up there. So certainly a solid young player and someone we want to see a whole lot more of. And it's nice that he was able to qualify here. Hopefully he gets more opportunities to continue to show his skills.
100% always love to see new talent challenge the best of the best. And right into it. Okay, is it just me or have they picked up the pace in the drafting like in the past 2 best of 3s?
Yeah, it does seem like it. And yeah, it's the hats are off. The hats are off, says Madra Uchiha. Yeah, the draft pace is quick. Surge going log and the giant skeleton. Interesting here. What is Surge's counter to the AQ here? I mean, giant skeleton, sort of?
I guess that's what he's looking for, because I guess the quick AQ pick from Suz is due to the fact that there's no main counter to it. I think out of all the cards, that's the best thing he saw. But that giant skeleton doesn't do much for you in the deck if Suz picks up an Inferno Tower or something. Now, with that being said, a Surgical can look towards that and pick up Pigs and EQ, which is still a viable option. Great job taking advantage of the fact that he's got the log and not Suz, and picking up 2 cards that are definitely going to get great value out of them.
Hussein asking, do I think Suz didn't have a win condition last game? I know wall breakers are like half a win condition, right? They're usually paired with Miner for that specific reason, is that they often work together. You know, there's also wall breakers drill, I guess wall breaker Skelly Barrel in some situations. But wall breakers just kind of leading your charge. It's such a hard win condition to get on tower. You have to have something else to support that. So he did have a win condition, just didn't have one in a deck that was optimized to help it get tower. Mini Pekka seen a lot of picks today.
Yeah, I like the Mini Pekka pick from Suz, just to kind of being aware that Surgical has the chance to play a Miner. So definitely good pick there. Bowler, just in case that Surge does go with the boost. So he's playing very cautiously right now.
Now, what's the win condition pick going to be for him this time? Mortar and EQ log, opposite direction. And Miner picked by Surgical Goblin. So, you know, you think about win conditions, it's going to be kind of hard to break through with the Royal Hogs at any point. 3 Musketeers for Surge, so Mortar, Miner, 3M for Surgical Goblin. What do you think the pick's going to be here for Suz? 8th pick.
I'd go with either Graveyard or Rocket. Yeah, there we go.
And there you go, just Rocket. Let's get into it. And Bhavesh pointed out 90K completed. Congrats. Thank you very much, everybody. Really do appreciate it. Let's get into game number 3. Will it be the former world champion or the debuting rookie whose only competitive experience is competing in July of last year in a couple different team events in Japan. The Strongest Cup and the Draft All-Star League, different kind of draft.
Strongest Cup, I remember that one. Cool.
Win here would be very big.
Very good recognition of the cards that Surge has got in his deck by Suz. Great response from Surge to pull it over. And I wanted to comment on the fact that Suz picked Rocket. It can get super difficult in that last moment, whether to pick a win condition such as Royal Hogs without a big spell, or you just take the comfort of knowing that you have a big spell and that you have the ability to get that damage onto the tower, as opposed to the last game, which he just did not have that. I feel like he was so comfortable with the splash troops that he had to take care of the 3M that he opted to go with the Rocket.
And Rascals split to the right-hand lane. Goblins pick up. AQ cycle to the right-hand side, and Suz playing this one a little more slowly than last time.
Yep, Surge is cycling those Rascals, splitting them. Once he gets the double elixir, he's gonna have to be a lot more reactive. Wait, does he have to? Yeah, why? That was an interesting choice to play the 3M there. Archqueen does get 2 shots. Oh, but he eats the Musketeer on the left. Giant Skelly in the middle here.
Giant Skelly does pull it all with 2 seconds left. And just, again, both players playing a little bit more circumspect this time around. Of course, we are in double elixir. We'll see if they start to pull the gloves off a bit more. Miner to the left-hand side. And Dark Prince, easy pickup there. Easy read, easy pickup for Suz.
Yeah, interesting choice. Starts going into the back. He did log towards the front as if he was going to play it in the front. Watch out for this Archqueen, though. It's going to get the ability off. And Suz is so far in a position where you can start rocket cycling. Right here, there would be no problem with a rocket. Does opt to play a Dark Prince. The reason why that precise moment was such a good time to play that rocket is because that Giant Skeleton was about to die. There was a super low chance to start supporting, and I'm pretty sure that the Miner was still 1 card off for being cycled again.
AQ behind guards on the left-hand side. Bowler working on the right-hand lane. Might need to do something here. Goes with the Archers low. EQ takes the Archers off. Dark Prince trying to hold, and great defense there overall.
Yep,
90 seconds left. Surgical Goblin, though, does take a little bit more of a lead.
Yep, does play that mini package, but 1 more Musketeer shot. He needs to start rocketing right about now. Right here is the perfect time.
Let's see if Suz is in the same frame of mind, and he is. So, great first rocket.
He's got to get back to another bowler as well.
And
beautiful Archqueen.
Wow, absolutely gorgeous. Dark Prince to protect the AQ. Won't protect her from the Skelly King, but Archqueen will walk away to that right-hand lane. EQ cycle left-hand lane. And now Surgical Goblin has to respond to the right-hand side. Nice flood on the left-hand side with the mini P.E.K.K.A. plus guards. Trying to go for some pancakes here. Dark Prince flooding as well. Snowball making a little bit of room here. Mortar high. And no more rocket cycle yet with 38 seconds left.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the rocket instead of the attempt to get the tower. I feel like that just kind of shows a little bit of desperation from Suz. Just praying that one big push is going to take the tower as opposed to being calm and defending and being able to get those rockets off. Because right now, he needs 2 more. There's 15 seconds left. That's not going to happen.
Archers low, Dark Prince high, and that Miner went wild. Valiant effort overall, but maybe some lack of familiarity with the flow of the game mode, some challenging picks, and the defensive rocket cycle deck for Suz not able to overcome a much more cohesive deck picking done by Surgical Goblin. And we're going to have a champion versus champion matchup in round 2 as Surgical Goblin and Ruben will face each other in our quarterfinals.
Very well done there from Surge. Just textbook, stayed calm, took off the hat, and dialed in the focus.
I thought you were going to go right to the bracket there, but you got a little peek there at Revel and Bale. Bale, a former CRL pro and now content creator. Of course, Revel Amar, the creator of a lot of these events. And next up is one of the more interesting matchups of the day, Minnie. One of the most polarizing figures in all of Clash Royale, the sniper himself, Anaban, going up against...
I think we got some beef in this one.
Yeah. I certainly would say that there's a little bit of that there. And up against the Hog Master and one of the 2 Americans in the competition, in Ian77. So very curious to see how this one plays out. I will say this. Ian did pretty well playing this draft mode, had a best of 5 on my channel against Riley, his friend, and the Logbait Master. Had both of them going against each other on my channel a couple days ago. Ian picked very well. But Anaban, part of why he's successful as a sniper, yes, sniping is its own thing, but also he's really comfortable playing weird decks. So I'm very curious to see how he plays in this game mode.
Yeah, you make a really great point there. I mean, Anaban, sniping isn't just using your main deck and waiting for somebody to queue up with a good matchup for you. It's being able to come up with weird variations and, you know, really getting the most out of the matchup that you want.
So first pick is going to go to Anaban. And take a look at the board right now. No AQ, Lightning Fireball, Zaplog, EQ as the spells. And Anaban goes Golden Knight early. No NATO to pull everything together with the Golden Knight. So Ian goes Log, which is one of the better picks. Of course, the Log nerf incoming. Curious about your thoughts. We can talk about that a little bit later. Your thoughts on the Log nerf overall. And there was another question about, is it better to remove Pump from this mode or just fix the game that it can't be in starting hand? I kind of think just remove it, but you know, as long as you get it out of starting hand, I guess that is a better fix. But I think that Pump in particular gets insanely OP in a mini meta, so I'd probably say remove it is the better choice.
Yeah, definitely makes... I feel like Pump, along with Archer Queen Quotes, can be super polarizing, you know, based on the first pick. Can make the mini meta super polarizing. But Anaban starting off with Golden Knight as the first pick. Interesting, because there is a Golden Knight and the Monk, you know, rivaling that. I guess he feels comfortable with it. Pairing it with a Ram Rider does explain somewhat his pick. Maybe he's looking to get a Mega Knight behind that. But I feel like if he does end up going to Comfort, Ian could punish Smart with, let's say, a Minion Horde. Not really the best one because Zap is already there and the Ram Rider shoots at them one by one. But maybe, and he takes the Magic Archer from Ian, which is really interesting.
And Smart immediate pick with the Fireball, so good target for the Magic Archer. Log and Fireball both for knockback. Bomb Tower for the Ram Rider. Very curious to see what direction Ian goes here.
Let's see a Monk from him. Oh, Mighty Miner. Okay.
Well, Riley's friend and rival goes with Riley's favorite card, the Mighty Miner. From a win-conditioned perspective here, and that's an interesting. I thought that maybe there'd be a reason with the Ram Rider for Ian to consider picking up the Mega Knight. Instead, Anaban gets that for a nice little MK Ram combo.
Yeah, I feel like reason he's going with the Mighty Miner is because he expected Anaban to take that Mega Knight, but I was also thinking he could take it away from Anaban and change the entire tempo of his deck. Because if he picked Mega Knight, he could have comfortably picked Monk and put a Miner on top of that.
What is this, an RG deck? I know I've seen...
He's got to put Miner. Anaban, if he takes Miner, it's going to be super smart. But also not the best because an RG could punish Anaban's deck right here.
And so he goes bait. Ian decides, hey, look, I'm going to force you to pick barrel as the last spell, or you have to try to zap these baits, Mega Knight these baits. So definitely puts Anaban in a hard position, and Anaban goes lava as the last pick. And looking at this deck from Ian, what does he do about lava?
I mean, my reaction is Ian's reaction to that Lava Hound. There's absolutely nothing to do for that Lava Hound except tank it with a bomb tower. And obviously, the more the time passes, the more I'm realizing how ingenious that pick was.
I mean, this is crazy because you saw them get into the end here and already kind of ignoring the Phoenix. I saw someone in chat making a comment about how does Ian stop the Phoenix, which was already going to be a really big problem. The bomber pick on turn 7. I don't know what his other options are, but man, not going for something. I know he wanted some splash damage, but you have the bomb tower already. You have the log. You have the fireball. Not going for some sort of air targeting card just seems like an oversight, and I'll be very curious to see how Ian tries to fight his way out of this one.
Yeah, I think the bomber pick was an attempt to like surprise him with the barrel in the end. Obviously not working out. And I mean he's looking for that cheap cycle going with bait, but just a super smart pick from Anaban going with that great Mega Knight too. I mean,
keep in mind, Ian's ahead, though, right now. 21-62.
He is, but
what does he do once he gets the triple elixir?
Just double. I mean, Lava Hound Phoenix. Good zap there to take the most HP possible off that Mighty Miner.
And pretty even.
Rich, Lava Hound Mega Knight. I want you to just think about that for a second.
What, you never played Lava MK?
Mega Knight?
You ever main that?
Nah, man, I think I missed it when we were practicing for World Finals. I think I skipped that deck. No, but honestly, the Lava Hound tanking for the Mega Knight is going to be a problem on its own. If you can get a Mighty Miner with that, obviously. I mean, a Gold Knight with that to try to deal with the Mighty Miner. But here he's going to Lava up.
And here goes Lava. Nice push from Ian opposite lane. And Anaban might just take all of that. Yeah, he zaps it. I thought he might just tank the whole darn thing. Mighty Miner goes opposite lane. And now just going to go ahead and create a big push on that left-hand side. Anaban picks up with the MK.
Great placement on the barrel.
Wow. Wow. That's a ton of damage, though. Like, this push can't fail.
Super smart. He's going to be able to catch this Phoenix. Raymond come down. Phoenix probably going to lock onto the bomb tower. Decides to place it on. He doesn't have the Mega Knight to deal with on that lane. There's Ram Rider behind that Lava Hound as well. No zap going to come down on the Mighty Miner. Maybe we'll see it with the ability to change lanes. Not exactly Fireball coming down to deal with that. Good defense from team, considering everything pressuring, but still has the elixir to get that Golden Knight off. Wow.
And there was so much that just happened there for Mini. And because there's so much happening in this game, Ram Rider trying to break on through. Bomb Tower does hold 90 seconds left. Ian does have the lead and has a pretty important one, and that's a ton of damage. Ian is going to go ahead and take this one. You know, this was a fascinating matchup because on the one hand, what did Ian have for Lava Hound and Phoenix? On the other hand, the ability to deal with the Goblin Barrel Fire Spirit push from Anaban was just brutal and not able to shut things down.
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a moment where Anaban could have used the ability of the Golden Knight to deal with the Goblin Barrel, placing it in the back and then dashing. Because Ian played that so well, like you'd expect him to, creating the perfect amount of pressure as soon as the elixir hit. He had the Goblin Barrel Fire Spirit lined up at the right time. He then cycled like 3 of those in like 30 seconds, and then somehow defended. Somehow he just did. I guess when you play Hog your whole life, it's kind of normal, but that was just wow.
Here we go, game number 2, and Anaban picking first again. Barb Barrel his first pick, AQ the opposite direction. Does Ian just go ahead, pick AQ and Lightning just to... Nope, picks arrows.
Picks arrows to prevent fireball and arrows from coming down, kind of forcing Anaban to go with the lightning. P.E.K.K.A.'s there, so the... What's it called? E-Giant, not exactly the best call. There's also a good amount of buildings and no EQ, so I don't think we'll be seeing the E-Giant. Mother Witch is also on board. So if Ian takes Fireball, he could also take the Mother Witch and maybe form some sort of graveyard deck with that.
So arrows, Fireball for Ian. Anaban picking the Golden Knight.
Yeah. Anaban deck leaning towards E-Giant, but with the remaining cards left in the pool, not the best idea. Could also make some sort of Royal Giant. Let's be completely honest. He can make anything. He used Lava Hound Mega Knight in the last game. So let's just try to predict what Ian's gonna use instead of predicting what Anaban's gonna use.
Well, interesting options here. And a very limited from the win condition perspective, right? You have Graveyard, and he has Cage. He could be. I mean, this could make for an interesting Graveyard deck. I don't think he goes Royal Giant, but certainly possible.
Yeah.
Battle Ram, no. Goblin Giant, no. Electro Giant, probably not.
Okay, Ian's preparing for E-Giant, which is the reasonable route. Anaban took that Fisherman just to keep that away from him. Ian goes with Graveyard. Best way to go against E-Giant, I would say. I just have a feeling that Anaban's not going to go with E-Giant. You know, like, we're probably going to see an Expo and, like, a Mega Knight come out in the last two cards.
And finally someone takes GUI, says Huge Ali. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking GUI was the way for Ian, and he ends up taking it. We'll see if Anaban does pick E-Giant here at the end.
Well, Ian's turn to pick. Let's see what he decides to. I would have preferred a Dark Goblin in that situation because I understand the guards trying to take advantage of his opponent not having a log. But that could give the Mother Witch value, while the Dark Goblin could have also hit the Flying Machine and been even more unkillable. He does end up taking the P.E.K.K.A., which is fairly solid deck.
And P.E.K.K.A. GY again, like we're talking about things we rarely see. We rarely see P.E.K.K.A. in competitive play these days. And Anaban goes E-Giant.
Yeah, he shrugged and was like, "Yeah, there's nothing better." So solid. Doesn't care about the P.E.K.K.A. because he's got a Fisherman, kind of relying on his confidence, kind of like Ian did in the last game, being confident with bait. He's feeling confident with E-Giant. So we'll see how this one plays out. On paper, I would give this one... This is a 50-50 matchup, if not for Anaban, because Fireball for Mother Witch, but you can still place the Mother Witch super far back, and then the Flying Machine comes down. And E-Giant is a great counter to the Archer Queen. So,
well, we'll find out here in the next, at this point, 4-ish minutes as both players kind of hang out and stare. We have not had many staring contests in this competition. In fact, this might be the first one I've seen in this whole month of Mega Draft.
yeah, I mean, both players do have heavy decks, so they're probably feeling more confident. Ian has a valid reason, which is he doesn't want to lose the game due to an Elixir disadvantage to like an E-Giant that's on his power. And Anaban has the E-Giant, and he wants to have all that Elixir to play with.
So both players taking their time, and yeah, Ian is talking to somebody. Anaban is as well. These guys are 100% on chat with friends of theirs. That's kind of normal, kind of par for the course these days.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe receiving some Elixir. Maybe some tips on drafting. You know, just like a second opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, people often would criticize Mo for his laughing during gameplay, and after talking to him a little bit, it wasn't that Mo was laughing at his opponent. It's that the guys who are in chat with him are cracking jokes the whole time, just kind of helping him keep his nerves even. And so he's just laughing at whatever jokes Julesy and co. I guess Julesy not so much in this most recent one, as Julesy working with Morton for Worlds, but the guys who he's working with, Julesy, Jebbas, whoever else is in chat, just kind of having a fun time. And here we go. Fireball for the Mother Witch. Flying Machine comes out immediately. Smart call here from Anaban. And there goes Big Mama Pekka.
Yeah, and then trying to find some quick, smart way to get to tower shut down by the Pekka. Now he's going to have to deal with the counter push and the Archer Queen the other way.
And Flying Machine just outside of range from that tower, and the AQ does have to come out. We'll switch over to the Flying Machine. Great value Archer Queen here. Forces Goblins out as well. Fishboy for the guards, and now Ian just chooses to go ahead and cage up early. And that's the nice part about this Pekka situation, right? He has cage for the Electro Giant, but he also has Pekka if he needs it.
Yep. Got a lot of really good answers.
And there you go. Pekka tanking for the graveyard. Bar barrel out, guards low. Flying Machine dealt with up high. Arrows do not come out for the Goblins. A little surprised there with the situation that Ian had his opponent in, but decides to hold the arrows a little bit longer. And every one of these Archer Queens feels like she is getting a tremendous value in these exchanges.
Yep, definitely either forcing lightning out or just getting a lot of value.
And now with Pekka, immediate E-Giant. Cage, I believe, should be close. And I did see a lightning on the Cage earlier. Maybe Cage nowhere near. Graveyard in, lots of damage. Archer Queen and a DPS on the E-Giant. This is going to be a huge selection of blows in both directions. And this should be Anaban coming out ahead of the game, and he does. 768 on that right-hand lane.
Yep, Pekka does have to ping the E-Giant. No ability just yet from the Archer Queen.
Just did use it on defense against that E-Giant. Fireball does get the Flying Machine off the board. E-Giant controlled by the Cage a little bit. Anaban with the lead, 34 seconds left. Ian, though, can get on tower very quickly with these graveyards. High Cage outside of lightning range for the low tower. Cannon Cart working on that DPS, getting that E-Giant down as fast as it can. And a nice high lightning for the Archer Queen. Nothing to tank for this graveyard right now. Gonna have to graveyard arrows maybe. Arrows come in, Fireball comes in, does get everything off the board, and look at the damage from Ian. Look at the damage from Ian, and just able to absolutely flood there at the end. Ian taking the game off of Anaban and securing the victory here in 2.
Yep, very well played from Ian. Did suffer from that E-Giant connection with about 1 minute remaining, but at the end of the day, that right after that interaction, there was a Pekka that got 2 shots on the E-Giant, which, you know, you may feel that that's getting too, that's minimizing the value that E-Giant is going to get later on in the game. So well played from Ian, 2 very solid games of gameplay, and now look forward to a very interesting match from himself. JP, one of the content creators that I don't know why he's not playing competitive, because his gameplay definitely tells you that he should, versus this last year's world number 3.
And there we go. Saw a quick look at the bracket as Ian will move on. And here's a look at the final seconds here. Anaban was ahead. Anaban had the lead. This E-Giant just gets absolutely controlled. The Cage played high. The E-Giant shredded by the Cannon Cart. And then that lightning on that left-hand side means, well, it wasn't there early enough for him to break through against the Cage. And this graveyard, fireball, arrows push gets the Fishboy out of the way, gets skeletons all over the tower, and gets a nice win there for Ian. So GG, well played. Ian moving on, and we're going to go into our final matchup here of the day, I believe. Let me double check that just to confirm. iAmJP versus Sam.
Yeah, and in that previous game, Anaban wasted a Golden Knight on the Cannon Cart on the right-hand side, which was not going to get that tower down all that much in the time that was remaining. A Mother Witch on defense would have probably been the game changer, honestly. Just last-second decisions that changed the outcome of the course of the match.
All right, not sure. I guess maybe the match wasn't quite ready yet, but here we are. I didn't see who got the first pick there, as I was kind of changing some things in the back. Did you see who got the first pick there, Minnie?
In Anaban's and Ian's game?
No, in the next game that's coming up.
Oh, let me go ahead and check. Pretty sure it was Samuel.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Hey, everybody. I believe we're getting to our final match. I'm just confirming that today is the final match. Yep, today is the final match of the day. Or this one is the final match of the day, and then we are, of course, going to be back tomorrow with the quarterfinals and beyond, with our all the way to our finals in this $15,000 mega draft competition. And AQ, the first pick for Sam, immediate lightning pick for JP, plus Snowball for the golden-haired golden boy from Barcelona, Spain.
Yep, Samuel picking poison. And also, did you see him pick the poison? How are you on clean face?
Yeah, he just picked poison. I have 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and there goes the Goblin's pick.
Okay.
And you see Goblins picked so much more over the Skeletons. The value they give now is so significant.
Yeah, when there's no log, there's really nothing stopping them from completely countering your miner. Wall breakers, they're just a super underrated card. At least for the majority of players, they don't realize how useful they can be. Because, I mean, first of all, Skeletons there's only 3. Goblins there's 4. They do more damage. They don't die to Snowball. When there's no log, their value only goes up.
Flying Machine, the pick for JP here. Samuel goes with a lot of pieces of a potential Royal Giant deck.
Yeah, very much looking like it. JP still thinking about what he's going to complement the support cards that he's got already with. Could very well possibly be a Golem, but I don't think he's comfortable enough with Golem, and especially going up against Samuel Bassotto, but him being JP, I feel like he's not really thinking about that. Going with the Skeletons, though, does look like we could be seeing some sort of Hog or Pickies deck.
We'll see what that pick's going to be, but first we go back the opposite direction. Samuel takes RG, so does complete a fairly direct pick. But okay, but here's the question now, right? I guess you do still have Zap in here, but you have so many decent. Well, I mean, you have Inferno Tower specifically. You have Cannon, which wouldn't be bad here either. And there's already a Bomb Tower. Is he kind of is Samuel kind of betting that he's not going to double up on buildings, and kind of now it's up to JP to find out DPS ways to deal with the RG?
I think he's not betting on JP going with another building. I think he's just confident enough with himself in RG. Samuel is one of those players in World Finals that's comfortable with going with his 3 best decks from his deck pool and switching them in order. So we were seeing that from him going with RG in the first game in his triple draft. I love the Skeletons pick from JP. If you remember, we saw one game where I think it was Surgicals or... No, hold on. It was Pompeyo's game where one of the 2 picked. Vitor picked the Skeleton Dragons, completely ate up the RG and company. And because of the lack of Fireball from Samuel, I feel like this is a great way to combat the RG in the other lane.
And someone asking, who is iAmJP? Well, he is another one of our former world champions here at CRL, winning the 2020 CRL World Championship with Team Queso alongside Ruben, who is on the same side of the bracket. So there you go. That's JP. And, of course, Samuel Bassotto coming off of a 3rd-place finish at CRL World Finals just a few months ago.
Yeah, Samuel did end up picking that Mega Knight. And it's going to be problematic for JP, maybe at first, at least until Double Elixir, but in Double, he's going to be able to... First of all, Samuel's always going to have to support that Mega Knight with the Archer Queen, because Hunter's not going to be able to kill the Flying Machine fast enough. But I see some potential for split pushes from Samuel that could be super problematic for JP.
Golden Knight cycled into the Queen's same lane. And JP just taking his time here. Knows that Golden Knight's going to go way down. It will take care of the Archer Queen, though. She will not get tower damage. And here we go, Flying Machine. And the only answers here are Poison. You see that's going to be the most important answer for Samuel to be able to get that value on tower and, of course, kill Flying Machine opposite side of the board. The big question is what's going to happen.
Time in a row.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
I said the big question is going to be what happens as we get in the double and triple when we start having more bridge fights and Flying Machines played high and middle as opposed to in poison value range.
Yeah, here's the thing. JP's got Bomb Tower. With a Bomb Tower and a Golden Knight against an Archer Queen and the Mega Knight, you can place the Bomb Tower, the Golden Knight goes behind the Archer Queen. The Bomb Tower is going to take care of that with a splash without much of a problem. When he gets to split pushes, that Golden Knight may not know where to go. And that's where the RG in the other lane with the Ghost is going to be very problematic, because we've already seen that Samuel's comfortable poisoning the Flying Machine to make some room. Interesting push from in there.
Flying Machine on tower. Lightning takes care of the Archer Queen. Royal Giant down to under half health here. Bomb Tower will go down, but RG not going to get much on the left-hand side. No shots on the left. Now a big push on the right-hand side. Bomb Tower trying to work here against a Royal Ghost, a Royal Giant, a Fisherman, a Hunter, and Ghost on tower, RG on tower as well. Fishboy gets in. No reset there, no problem. 1170, and both guys hitting huge shots in this moment, and that's going to be a GG there. Samuel just overwhelms, and what was a kind of slow-played game turns into an absolute back-and-forth slugfest in the final moments.
Yeah, very tame up until that Flying Machine connection on the right tower of Samuel's. But Samuel, being the experienced RG player that he is, takes advantage of that Fisherman not getting shot by the Flying Machine at all. Places the Ghost in front, followed by an RG. We saw a decent response from JP with the Bomb Tower and then the Golden Knight to keep those troops together to get the most value out of that Bomb Tower. But because he had Lightning, he wasn't really able to contain the bridge with like a poison, something super constant that was going to prevent from Samuel from completely overwhelming. He dropped some Skeleton Dragons that were also too high. Hunter came down, forced the Snowball out. That leaves the door open for an Archer Queen due to the Elixir deficit that's going on. And then a last-second Bomb Tower comes down in an effort to defend. Gets annihilated in the second, and the tower follows.
Yep, and that was, again, you talk about, one of the things about JP is JP has always been, and from my evaluation, and you can tell me if you think differently, JP's always been a high-risk, high-reward player, right? And that's part of why he's had these big, amazing runs and these big, amazing finishes, and also why JP, maybe doesn't always get the results he's looking for. But that's kind of my evaluation, is that JP certainly tons and tons of talent, but also that kind of gambler's mentality, that high-risk, high-reward, is both his superpower and his weakness.
Yeah, I feel like that's comes hand in poison and lightning. Okay, I feel like that comes in hand with he's already so experienced, such a veteran. He's not scared of failure, so it doesn't matter to him. He's so used to it. He's used to competing at the high level. There's no nerves. The worst thing he could do is losing his mind. So, yeah, I feel like that's definitely a trait that accompanies him as a player.
So, AQ, NATO, a nice pick there for Sam to work against that miner. Interesting, two big spells picked by JP, Poison and Lightning. Thoughts on that pick?
The Poison, I understand. The Lightning, I don't feel necessary, because he's going with a miner deck. There we go. He could have gone with the Monk instead of that Lightning. That Lightning is gonna be a safeguard in case he doesn't have the Monk in cycle, so maybe it'll work out for him in the end. but it's one less card that JP has to pressure the actual arena, you know?
Very, very interesting choices here to go two big spell, weird minor control. And there you go, Sam picking Rocket Log late. You know, so many of Sam's pieces here feel like a minor deck. Thoughts on win condition choices for Sam here? Is Drill going to be the move going forward?
Yeah, 100%. I'm not sure how Log lasted 10 cards without being picked, especially with Goblins. You know, we talked about how Goblin Log is such a good starting play, or starting picks. Yeah, so Samuel will probably complement this with the Drill. JP's got a very funky minor control deck. I do like the Bowler because it's a troop that can get a lot of value once you place it. Although Samuel does have the Rocket. But it'll be interesting to see. Maybe we'll be able to witness a Rocket reflection in the last second of the game and, you know, go to game 3.
So Drill Skelly Barrel is the pick for Samuel. Samuel going to have some good options there. And now for JP, what is he putting here as the last card? Does he put more pressure with Wall Breakers? Goes Flying Machine. And I think that's actually a pretty solid pick here for JP.
Yeah, it's forced, I feel like, because of the Skeleton Barrel pick from Samuel. And it's going to be able to be defended cheaply, at least until Double Elixir, where JP can get something to accompany that Flying Machine. Archer Queen placed a little bit far away, letting that Flying Machine get some hits on the Archer Queen that weren't particularly necessary. Good minor forcing up Goblins from Samuel. Here JP's at an advantage, but he doesn't have the deck that can really take advantage of the Elixir so well. But I feel like once we get to double, he's going to start letting those minor poisons fly. Samuel has to be very careful with his Archer Queen placement because of the Monk and the Lightning. But the Drill is also going to be problematic for JP to deal with because it's always going to come in with a Rocket.
So here we go. Both players deciding to slow down a little bit here after the opening exchanges. No damage on Samuel's side. JP down to 28-32, so a little chip on his left-hand tower. You know, it's interesting because, so on the defensive side here, obviously, you know, Bowler's an interesting choice overall, but the Electro Spirit, the Inferno Tower, a lot of interesting control elements. How much of a factor, you know, you talk about the spell cycle at the end here. Rocket Log NATO versus Poison Lightning. Talk me through that from a late game spell damage perspective. That feels like like Rocket Log NATO gets a pretty big advantage there.
Yeah, JP, I'm just excited because I hope he finds a Drill defense with a Monk and a prediction ability for the Rocket, or like a reactive ability for the Rocket. Because that would just be lovely to see. And he's the type of player that I expect to like find that connection, and see that. In terms of the late game spell battles, it's going to be a back and forth.
And the Monk there, but again, you can't. One of the things they did about the Monk was they didn't make Monk really capable of being reactive, right? So you kind of have to be, you kind of have to predict and react in the same vein. Very hard to pull. I mean, how many Drill or Rocket Reflections have you seen successfully done with a Monk?
Not so many. It's asking a decent amount from him, you know. But you know, he is a world champion, so.
Fair enough.
And that Archer Queen's on tower.
Wow,
so,
Archer Queen gets through, does go into the ability, and that is Shred City. Bowler pushes it back, but with Rocket Log NATO, that's going to be too much here for JP to overcome. And Samuel now just going to make sure to not make any mistakes and get that last little bit on the tower there. The Drill, the Skellies, Rocket. JP gives him the applause and the thumbs up, but a very clean performance here from Samuel Bassotto.
Yeah, and I mean, looking back at this game, this is why so many people say that he got carried by Ruben. I'm kidding.
Shots fired.
No.
Did everyone clip that?
No.
It's a tough. This is a really tough game mode overall, and you see some players who've had more time with it. Either way, take a look at our bracket. Tomorrow's matchups: Mohamed Light versus Vitor will be a blast. Lucas and Sandbox. I mean, this thing is just filled with world finalists and world champions. Ruben and Surgical Goblin, 2 former world champions, going toe to toe. Ian77 and Samuel Bassotto going on in that one as well. Man, this bracket overall is absolutely insane for this Final 8, and of course, you'll be able to find all of that happening right here. You know what's crazy to think about this? Because Ian is a really phenomenal player. He is the only player here who isn't a former world finalist, and you have 3 world champions in that bracket on top of that. So this is a crazy Final 8.
Yeah, definitely a stacked lineup for sure. I'm really hoping to see a Lucas versus Samuel final, just to hopefully see Lucas starting off the year with a good Twitter rant. But regardless,
sure.
we have a lot of great matchups coming, and a lot of talent to go with it.
This was this really a crazy good matchup. Every single matchup tomorrow is great. And how can you see it? You can see it right here on this channel. We are back tomorrow, same time, same place, with the finals. So if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. We hit 90K today. Hey, maybe we go real big tomorrow. Let's see what happens. But we'll be right back here tomorrow with the conclusion. $15,000 on the line. 8 of the top players in the world battling for that $15K, that $7,500 grand prize. So subscribe, turn on notifications. If you haven't already yet, go ahead and throw, the season starts pretty soon. Go ahead and throw code RICH in your Clash Royale app. A little support would be wonderful. And I will see you all back here mañana for the championship. Minnie, thank you so much. I loved having your insight, and can't wait to see how this one turns out.
Happy to be here, man. Excited, and yeah, thank you for having me, man.
All right, that's it, everybody. We will see you back here mañana. As always, mwah, be excellent to each other. Peace.